sound off for you to speak your mind. This show is for the faithful.
Touchdown! Touchdown!
Dub Nation.
Bang! Steph Curry again!
And the seam heads that bleed orange and black.
Goodbye!
This is Sportsphone KNBR. Sponsored by Industrial Metal Supply on the Sports Leader. Check the live stream on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
And the pitch. Strike three called. A fastball right down the middle. The game is over, and the Giants have won it 1-0. And Patrick Bailey was not able to get a swing off. It was well above the knees and down toward the middle of the plate, and he froze. Right in there, game over.
Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Sportsphone KNBR with Bill Laskey. Well, right when you thought the Giants pitchers could not do it, they did. And they pulled out a 1-0 victory today at Progressive Field in Cleveland. And it was a great pitching game on both sides, from the Guardians as well as the Giants. But I think all Giants fans were just like me. Matt Wilkinson getting the call-up. We just didn't hear about it till today. They had a probable as a starting pitcher today, and there he was, Matt Wilkinson, wearing number 71. His family, his friends at Progressive Field to watch him pitch. And I think we were all kind of upset he only threw 2 innings. I wanted to see him pitch more. But the 2 innings that we saw, he was confident, pitched well, threw 25 pitches, 14 for strikes, faced 4 left-handers, only gave up a little bloop hit to center field, but he pitched well. And I think the confidence factor that he takes from these 2 innings will build for the next one. And I think that's what Giants were looking at. Even though we were selfish, we all wanted to see him pitch more. We will. He's in this rotation, and let's hope he stays there. A different type of pitcher, a big man, no doubt. Didn't really throw the ball hard, kept it in the strike zone, went 3-0 on Jose Ramirez and came back and got him out. A nice 1-2-3 inning, and Adames made a beautiful play up the middle, and he was off and ready. And he comes out the second inning, gives up a base hit. He ends up being settled, calm, confident. 2 little pop-ups and a ground out, and he finished the 2 innings. You looked at him on the bench, he still had a game face on. He knew he was out of the game. He probably didn't understand it, as well as all of us. I didn't understand why they took him out after 2 innings, but it definitely worked for the San Francisco Giants as Adrian Hauser came in, and he has been spot on, going 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts through 80 pitches, 48 for strikes. And Dylan Smith, boy, he was rested today, going 2 innings, 5 punch-outs, bringing it up to 98 miles an hour. And you recall what happened on May 9th when the trade was made for Patrick Bailey for Matt Wilkinson. And how did this game start? Matt Wilkinson tugboat started the game, and Patrick Bailey ended it with a punch-out by Dylan Smith. How about that? Isn't that just karma? Man, oh man, I tell you. It sure happens in the game of baseball, and today it did. The Giants ended up only getting 1 run. Victor Barracoda got a nice base hit after 2 outs. Devers got a double in the 4th inning. Wild pitch got him to third base, 2 fly balls, and Victor Barracoda came up and hit a bullet past the shortstop into short left field, and that was the only run the Giants needed. 1-0 win. And you start looking back at the tugboat. And we'll be talking about the tugboat the whole show. 415-808-KBR. You can get on the phone lines. We'll be talking tugboat. We'll be talking some Giants baseball throughout the show. But you start looking at where Matt Wilkinson started and where he is now. In 2026, he started in Akron, not even an hour away from Cleveland. He was 1-2 in 6 starts with a 1.5 earned run average. 28 1/3 innings. Dialed in. 36 strikeouts. And he gets traded after he faced the Richmond Flying Squirrels. And he beat them. He gets traded, walks over to the Richmond Flying Squirrels clubhouse, and he starts his way with the Giants. He makes 3 starts in Richmond. He goes 2-0 with a 2.4 earned run average, 15 innings, 13 strikeouts, and they summoned to Sacramento. And he got up to AAA in Sacramento, a different league, a harder league, a tough league for pitchers. He goes 3-4 in 10 starts, 43 and 2/3 innings, punches out 43, walks 17, has a little over a 5-point earned run average, which isn't that bad at the PCL. And today, the Giants called him up. And today, he became a big leaguer. You saw his dad in the stands tearing up. You saw his mom just up there every pitch grinning. And after those 3 outs were made in that first inning, the smiles and jubilation on both their parents, it was ecstatic. And that's what baseball is all about. That's what families of baseball is all about. That's what the tradition of baseball is, the love of the game. And you see it with family. You see it with friends. You see it with everybody there with tugboat hats on. And they were so excited for him to pitch today. He's a big leaguer. And right now, he's gone 2 innings with no runs. Just a fantastic day. And it ended up with the Giants winning this game 1-0 against a tough team, the Cleveland Guardians, who are fighting for the wild card position in American League. And, of course, Stephen Vogt on the other side in the dugout, an ex-Giant, a friendly man, a good friend of mine. But today, it was Giants. And today was a good day for Matt Wilkinson and his family to see him reach the pinnacle of baseball and pitch at the big league level. We'll talk more about this game and more, but we got a lot of calls coming in, 415-808-KNBR. We'll take a quick break, come back with some calls. I'm Bill Laskey. This is Sportsphone, KNBR, on a Wednesday.
Nathaniel Lowe, veteran, left-handed hitter with power. And he swings it. It's a smash up the middle, past the mound, behind second and shallow center. It's gloved by Adames. He spins around from center, makes a one-hop throw to first in time for the out, and the inning is over. And that's a 1-2-3 inning, the debut inning for Tugboat Wilkinson and his family. Showing up on the monitor, they are overwhelmed.
You know, after the trade, obviously, yeah, it was definitely different. But you know, the mindset flipped to Oracle. But you know, it's kind of a cool story that I do get to have my debut here after, especially being 3 years with them and stuff like that. So grateful that it was here, and I'm just excited to keep going.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey. It was tugboat time in Progressive Field in Cleveland as Matt Wilkinson made his Major League Baseball debut in front of family and friends. And he went 2 innings, 1 hit, 25 pitches, 14 for strikes, 3 first-pitch strikes for 7 hitters. All good things for Mr. Matt Wilkinson, and I think Giants fans just wanted to see him. We've been talking about him ever since the trade. He's worked his way up through the minor leagues from Richmond to Sacramento, and today he put on number 71 with that San Francisco Giants uniform on, and he became a big leaguer. All right, let's talk to some fans out there today. 415-808-KNBR. Let's go to John. He's in South City. John, you're on with Bill Laskey. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bill. After a good Giants win today, I thought the pitching was great, and the tugboat. How about the tugboat today, Bill?
Yeah, the tugboat is now a big leaguer. You know, I think a lot of fans wanted to see how big he was. Of course, he's out of shape, but that's okay. You know, every body is different in the major leagues. You have some that are great shape. You got some guys like Tugboat, but he got the job done, and he went 2 innings. I'm sure, John, you're like a lot of Giants fans. You would have loved to see him pitch a little more.
I sure did, Bill. I really wanted to see him pitch the whole inning. I mean, he didn't want to go out getting taken out of the game. I mean, you could tell in the dugout he did not want to get taken out by Vitello.
Yeah, those things happen. There was a plan here, and the plan was maybe get him a couple innings. I know Adrian Hauser has been pitching dynamic for the last 3 times out there. If you really want to know, John, 16 innings pitched, 1 earned run right now for Adrian Hauser in his last 3 appearances with Detroit, Houston, and Cleveland. And, man, he was spot on today. But I think all the attention was on Matt Wilkinson, the tugboat. Velocity wasn't as high as I thought. He got up to about 91 on a couple fastballs, 3 sliders, 3 changeups, all in the mid-80s. But he attacked hitters, and that's what I loved. When he went 3-0 on Jose Ramirez, you just wondered, the second hitter in the inning, is he going to walk him? And he came back and he got him out. And I thought that was really, really a confidence builder.
I think you're right on that, Bill. And I thought Hauser pitched his tail off today. How about him? Kudos to him, and kudos to Dill Smith coming in the bottom of the 8th and finishing the 9th inning. That was huge. I mean, that was very huge. And striking out Bailey,
you're so
too.
right, John. Yeah, you're so
no
right
doubt
about Dylan Smith punching out 5 in 2 innings, throwing about 98, 97. And, you know, you just say to yourself, man, when this guy has enough rest where he doesn't pitch day after day, this is the dynamic stuff he has. They're electric. And he had a split finger, had a hard curveball going today. This is where you just got to extend him. Give him a day off. Let him pitch in Boston. Don't pitch him tomorrow. And this is what Tony Vitello is going to have to learn about the bullpen and how he can use his arms.
You're right. And then, Bill, do we have an update on Marcel Meyer, by the way? Marcel Meyer, is that correct?
Yeah, they're talking about it. Well, I thought he was going to be up tomorrow. They were talking about the end of the Cleveland series. It could be in Boston, but it looks like he's going to be up in Boston. Of course, why not? Bring him up against the villains, the Red Sox, where he just got traded from. Look what Matt Wilkinson did against the Guardians. You might as well bring him up and have them both have Major League Baseball debuts with the Giants. Of course, Wilkinson was the first time up. Meyer's been up with the Red Sox, but this is all about baseball. This is what drama of baseball is, and it's good for the game.
It does. And then what kind of reception does Devers going to get in Boston for the first time he comes back on Friday?
John, they better stand up and applaud him. I mean, they won a World Series. This guy had great years with the Red Sox. He was. And all the negative drama at the end, it should not have these Red Sox fans sit on their hands. This guy played well for the Red Sox. He was a staple of being a rookie coming up. He had great years there. I'm hoping to hell they give him a standing ovation.
I actually agree with you as well, Bill. I mean, he deserves. Hopefully he gets a standing ovation. But you know how Boston fans are, Bill. They're not.
Well, John, are you going to stand up if you were a Boston Red Sox fan?
I would. I mean, if the only thing is if they went to the Yankees or Dodgers, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that.
They won a World Series. He was a big part of that World Series. That was a big thing for Boston. That was a big World Series, and he was a main part of it. And we'll find out. It's Friday, but we got one more game tomorrow, John, and let's see if the Giants can squeeze out a series win. But thanks for the call, John. Let's go to Saratoga. Yep, let's go to Saratoga and talk to Bob. Bob, you're on with Bill Laskey. How are you tonight?
Really good, Bill. I guess the great baseball philosopher Yogi Berra is correct again. Pitching is 75% of baseball, and the other 50% is hitting. And he was a comedian also. But I think that all three pitchers need to be thanked, and I hope they can keep it up, because that was the best game of the year, the way the pitching went. And we only got one run.
They all pitched well.
Yeah.
Yep, they all pitched well, and I'm sure, Bob, you were just like all Giants fans. You would have loved to seen Tugboat going a few more innings. I just don't know the philosophy. No. We're trying to get some post-game notes from Tony V of the reason why they pulled him. Maybe there was just a confidence factor. Get him a couple innings, get his feet wet, and then go from there. But he definitely did not want to come out of that game.
No. Well, he'll be able to pitch again sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
There's an upside to that. We only pitched 2 innings, but
how about this one, Bob? His next start will be Monday at Oracle Park. How about that?
Great, good. Well, congratulations, Bill, because I know you're a great fan and an ex-Giant, so you must be feeling really good tonight.
Yeah, it was a good game. Bob, I love pitching, and I love watching good pitching. And today, like you said, commend all three, Wilkinson, Hauser, and Smith. They did a great job on the mound today, and the Giants end up winning this one 1-0. But, Bob, thanks for the call.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. All right, let's go to Lake Merced. Talk to Big Sam. Big Sam, you're on with Bill Laskey on a Wednesday night. How about that, Big Sam?
Oh, my goodness. I'm out for a walk in the breeze and the fog. Nearby, thinking of my big buddy, Big Bill. How are you, brother?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good on a Wednesday night. I got lucky with a win tonight, so I'm feeling good about that. And Giants fans are seeing the Tugboat for the first time, and I think everybody loved what they saw. He's a battler. He went after hitters. I loved the competition from him, and we'll see what manufactures from today.
In the stomping grounds of Cleveland, Ohio. Let me tell you, and I spoke with your producer, we've got 35 games left. And rather than doing a nasty fest, let's look at the bright spot. It's not just, okay, we get it. A lot of us are great fans and we're critical, and you and I talk about this all season long. Let's look at the bright side. We got the big fella, and he reminded me a little bit of Big Daddy Rick Russell. He's a big fella too. Your old teammate. Let's talk about, and we got Hauser for one more season. So his record does not. His record is
he's got 1 more year on his contract. He won his 4th game today, and, he wants to get back in his starting rotation, and he should deserve to. Detroit, Houston, Cleveland, 16 innings, only 1 earned run. He's dialed in. He's not walking guys, had a couple walks. I loved what Tony V did. Let him go out in the 8th inning. He was pitching a gem, walked the first hitter, went right to Dylan Smith. And boy, did Dylan Smith chew this Garden and team up with 3 punch-outs.
And Bill, I think your teammate, your ex-teammate, Mike Krukow, with 35 games remaining, wants to go out with a bang, and he said it the other day. Fans deserve more. We pay a lot. We see this team. We go to watch them as many times as we can, depending on our schedule and what we have in our lives. We want to see good Giants baseball. And I understand completely that they are going through some really rough times, but they've got talent on this team. So what I can say is, not like the bad news bears, we can say, look, we've got 35 games remaining in the season. Let's see how many games we can pluck. Let me see how many games. Can they win another 15 to 20? I think they can. They can.
Well, you know, Big Sam, another thing, Big Sam, when you're looking at young talent, turn the page. This is what this team's going to be. Look what Victor Barracuda did today. He caught that ball in left field. Could have been 2 runs. Made a beautiful catch. Guess who got the only RBI in the game? Victor Barracuda. And here's a young kid that's just learning how to play in the big leagues. I really believe Ramos was traded because of him. He's calmed down. His confidence has got to get better. We've seen him make blunders in the outfield. We've seen him strike out. But today, Victor Barracuda won that game for the Giants with his defense and his sparkling base hit. Mm-hmm.
I look at the moves at this team, and I think about, you talk about Cleveland, you talk about them being in Cleveland. We look at the movie with Major League and what they did in the last 30 games, and I'm not trying to mix apples and oranges, but I'm saying these young guys probably may have a players-only meeting or might, just they're up in the bigs now. They're playing big league ball. They are in the show now. So what they have to do is say, you know what, guys, we're here and we want to stay. We want to stay. We want to make a difference.
And how do you stay? How do you stay, Big Sam? You play hard. You play very confident. You make the plays that you're supposed to, and you don't try to do anything more. That's what we want to see. We want to pitchers compete, throw strikes, not walk the yard like they did on Sunday with 10 walks. This is good baseball today. And what I said in the beginning, we've been waiting for a pitching, beautiful game like they did today. A beautiful pitching matchup today. Hauser was magnificent. Dylan Smith was magnificent also. And even Matt Wilkinson. So you take the first 9 innings and you put zeros on the board against a Cleveland Guardian team like this, and all you can do is put quotations and say, that's a Giants win. That's how pitching's supposed to be.
Hey, I wish you an amazing rest of your show. Let's try to catch up in Belmont in a couple weeks on Sunday at the Greek Festival. I really want to see
you. All right, buddy. I'll catch you on the weekends. I'll be on Saturdays and Sundays. And this week, I'm just on today. But, boy, what a day I picked on Wednesday. But thanks for your time, Big Sam. Hey, let's go to Mark in Napa before we take a break. Mark, you're on with Bill Laskey. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, thanks for giving me a call, Mark. What's going on tonight?
Just really trippy that Bailey at bat, man. You could just feel it coming, and then the Giants come through. So, hey, just as far as Tugboat, he's got that easy delivery style. It comes out really low. Seems like he's ready to field the position. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think this is a big body type. He's quick on his feet. He is a good defender. And I think what he does is attack hitters. You hear him talk about it. I did an interview earlier in the year with him, and he says, I'm here to compete. I don't like to walk hitters. I'd rather have a guy hit a home run on than walking guys. And I love that style of pitching. And you saw it in Double-A. You saw it in Double-A in Akron. You saw it in Richmond. And then he went up to Sacramento, had to pitch in that PCL league, but he still threw good. He threw good. He got ahead of hitters. He didn't walk many hitters. He's not a big strikeout guy, so he, looks for his defense. Today, 2 ground balls, 4 5 balls. Hey, I'm good with that.
So as the strategy for challenges emerges more as the season goes on, it just becomes a little more graspable. I think FP did a pretty good job the first time I'd heard somebody elucidate it about, individual challenges, first inning, nobody on versus a team challenge, 2 on in the bottom of the ninth, like when you're going to use those things. And I think it's still kind of coming together. But it made me think about one time Krug and Kike talked about how Steve Garvey of the Dodgers would try to decline, like, oh, I swung at that one. You know, if there were ducks on the pond, he wanted to stay up. He didn't want to walk. You know, and I just kind of thought that how that has changed everything with, you know, ostensibly people having challenges to use, and I don't know. It's just a weird thing that's kind of coming together from my observation.
Yeah, you know, Mark, I've always talked about having a strategy on it. Don't you think there should be a strategy? And today it worked out well. Kavanaugh had 2 of them left in that 9th inning. He won one and lost one. But that's when you really need them, in that bottom of the 9th inning. You're on the road. You have a couple in your back pocket. That curveball was nasty.
It almost feels like a blanket prohibition by a team, like nothing in the first 4 innings, you know, like unless it's just a total huge point, you know, like a big, you know, an inflection point that could happen. But I don't know. That's just a thought, and that's coming. But hey, you know, that Adama's defense has been pretty cool, and Eldridge's defense, like that play in the bottom of the 7th, man, like he hasn't made many mistakes. But I do hope they keep Devers limbered up and playing once in a while over there, and. You know,
yeah, it was nice to see Willie Adames back on the field today, and of course he had a nice 3 base hits. So the back is a little rested. He made one blunder, the 17th inning. That was a tough ball, but the one in the bottom of the 1st inning up the middle was a nice play where he skipped it into Eldridge. And I'm right there with you. I want to see Bryce Eldridge play more first base and let Rafael Devers be the DH and see if that moves forward with seeing big number 8 at first base.
Right on. All right, Bill, take it easy. Adios.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. 415-808-KNBR. Got a handful of calls on hold. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break on KNBR and bring you more right here on Sportsphone. It's a Wednesday night with Bill Laskey.
Giants fans. This is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Back on Sportsphone on a Wednesday night with Bill Laskey. Tomorrow, the third game of a 3-game series. The Giants have an opportunity to win their first series since the end of July when they beat the Brewers at home. Landon Root takes the hill tomorrow. He's 7-12 with a 4.3 earned run average, 129 innings, 108 hits, 128 strikeouts. But, of course, the biggest number, 60 walks. And we know Landon Roop, he's got the most 3-ball counts in Major League Baseball. He's looking to overturn this. He's looking for a good game tomorrow, and he's got a good one. Gavin Williams, the big right-hander, 27-year-old, he can bring it. He's 11-7 with a 3.7 earned run average. In 149 innings for the Guardians, he's punched out 190. That's right, he can bring it. He's got an upper velocity fastball, a good breaking ball. The big down on him, he's given up 24 home runs. Gavin Williams, Landon Roop tomorrow. Get your coffee cup up. First pitch right here on KNBR at 10:10. So we'll see if the Giants can pull this off and get their first series win since the end of July. 415-808-KNBR. Let's talk to Doug. He's in San Jose. Doug, you're on with Bill Laskey. How are you?
Hello there, Mr. Laskey. This is Doug in San Jose, second-time caller. I want to know what's going to happen with 2027 Giants. Are they going to maybe land some free agents?
Well, we got to first. We got to find out if we're going to have a season in 2027. Doug, there's a big lockout or a strike that could happen here and stop play. That's going to happen in November and December. We'll know more about that as the season progresses, but they're going to have to beef up the pitching staff. The bullpen has not been consistent as we thought they would be, and now the starting staff has a lot of young arms. So I think the priority right now is going to be pitching, Doug.
Thinking maybe put Derek Cota in center and pick up, I think, that Seattle outfielder Ararza and from the Mariners.
Well, Barracuda doesn't play center field. He's more of a corner outfielder. And you have Jonah Cox as well as Drew Gilbert right now playing center field. So that's probably what the makeup's going to be. And then you have Jung-Hoo Lee has been playing really well in right field. It's going to be a makeup of young players and some older veterans, but I think the number one priority, Doug, is going to be pitching.
But I'm ready to make Tugboat the closer already.
I don't think you're going to see. I don't think Tugboat's going to be a closer, Doug. But you know what? He pitched well for his opening 2 innings today, his Major League Baseball debut for a 23-year-old. To get back on there to face his team that just traded him, that he really thought he was going to be a Cleveland Guardian when he first signed with them, and to go through the minor leagues to get to Double-A, to get traded over to the Giants. It's an eye-awakening feeling, and now today he is part of the San Francisco Giants family.
Sure wanted him to go 5 and get the win,
I'm right there with you. I think a lot of fans wanted to know why he came out after 2 innings, and nobody really had an answer. I think it was just to build a little confidence, get him out there. And like I said, if they go every 5th day, he'll be starting that first game at home at Oracle on Monday against the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Doug, thanks for the call. I appreciate your time. 415-808-KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines to talk some Giants baseball with me. And what did you think about Matt Wilkinson? Do you think he fits into this rotation for the Giants? Do you see him as a future starter? Love to hear your thoughts. Let's go to Rick. He's in Hayward. Rick, you're on with Bill Laskey. How are you?
Hey, my friend. 91 miles was his top speed. I just checked out his list.
It did. I saw the same thing.
70,
he doesn't bring it.
78.
He doesn't bring it, but I think a lot of his motion plays into it, Rick. He's got a big motion. He's got that big body coming at you. He comes at you, but it's nothing overconfident, over. He's not going to get 95 or more.
No, and his low was 78.1. And that's why he didn't go more than 2 innings. I mean, they're not going to probably run him out there for more than one turn through the lineup for a while, I think. And it's because of, you know batters. if I saw 91 as his top and 78 as his low, I'm going to be looking for that 83 to 84, and I'm going to beat the hell out of it. And that's exactly what happened to Carson yesterday. And Carson, since he's come back up from the minors, since July 26th, that's who I really wanted to talk about with Carson Wisenhunt. He's 1-4. He's walked 20. He's walked 17. It might be 20. 20 walks. He has a WHIP of 2.06, an ERA of 8.86 since he's come back up. And people ask why is he getting hit? Well, he's wild. Batters eliminate two of his pitches, and then they just start looking for either the fastball or the slider or the changeup.
Well, not even that. The changeup is what they're sitting on, the changeup, and your numbers are pretty accurate. 32 innings pitched, 39 hits, 20 walks. So you're looking at 59 players on the field are coming in, and that's what I always look at, Rick. You and I talk pitching all the time, and you always look at the free passes and you look at the hits, and then you wonder why he's got an earned run average over 7. He hasn't pitched well at all the last few outings. He did against Houston, only giving up 1 earned run, but the time before that, 6 earned runs. Yesterday, 5 earned runs. First 3 hitters are down 3-0. He's going to have to shake it up. The velocity is not as high as we thought it would be. And here's a guy that was 94, 95, maybe a little bit tick higher coming out of spring training, and he's back down to 93, 92 too, Rick. So I don't know if the longevity of the season is wearing these arms out or if it's just a mix that they can't bring it any better.
Well, last year when he came up, everybody talked about him throwing 96, and he was throwing 91, 92. Even down in SAC, he was only throwing 91, 92, 93. So I honestly, I think his long-range plan is probably to be in the bullpen, to tell you the truth. I mean, if they could figure out a way to get him maybe in the pen as even a middleman or something like that to spell a pitcher coming out after 5 or 6 and get that 1 inning or even 4 or 5. I know that we're looking at long range plans for next year. I just heard the gentleman before you talking about, putting Barracuda in center field, which isn't going to happen.
Let me ask you this, Rick. And there's a question. This was a question that I was going to throw out today before Wilkinson and this game turned into a great pitching matchup. When you're looking at this rotation next year, and this is total fact, Logan Webb's going to be your ace. Then you have really 4 spots that are all questionable. Landon Root, Carson Wisenhunt, Blade Tidwell, Adrian Hauser, and now Matt Wilkinson. That's pretty much what your rotation looks right now if you put it on paper. You're going to get better. You're going to get another starter or 2. But that's it. And then you look at AAA. There's nobody in AAA. I was looking at numbers today. There's nobody in AAA lights out. There's nobody pitching well that they can make, hey, there's another shot for a starter. It's not happening. And then you look at the bullpen, and numbers in the bullpen are not good. And that's why I said the priority for Buster Posey for this winter is to fix the pitching. And he's got to fix it by grabbing a couple veteran bullpen arms and a couple good veteran pitching arms. But you and I both know this. The Giants will not give long-term contracts out to pitchers. This is something they don't want. It's going to be difficult to fix. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to fix this.
Johnson will not give out more than a 3-year contract to any one starter. And like a Dylan Cease is going for where the money's at. And, I never thought the Giants were going to go after Dylan Cease, just to be correct out there right now. Bill, I don't think they're going.
The guy's name that's coming up again is Kevin Gausman. That's a name that keeps coming up. Of course, Logan Webb and him are very good friends. That's a possibility. Sonny Gray is another one, but there's no way Boston's going to let Sonny Gray walk. Some of the big names are going to want more than 1 year, and they're just going to have to wait and see. Of course, hopefully we'll have a 2027 season.
Well, Sonny Gray's got 1 year left, and that's why I was so mad after they were taunting this trade all from the end of last year to the general manager meeting in November last year. And then all of a sudden, it went away, and that was the Sonny Gray trade. And believe me, they could have got him for 2 pitchers. That's what St. Louis gave up for 2 pitchers.
I really like him.
And
I know he's in his mid-30s. You know, he's got age on him. Look at Sonny Gray's throwing Friday, and that's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray against Logan Webb. That's going to be a nice pitching duel. I'm right there with you. I loved Sonny Gray when he was with the A's. I loved him when he pitched in St. Louis. He's got a lot of things I like about him. And one thing, he competes, man. He comes right at you. Right.
Well, you know, to answer your question on the pitching, you know, Hauser's got next year and an option for a third year. I think it's a team option. And he wants to start, so you got to pencil him in as a starter. I think Landon is a number 3. If he can work on that inning where he just loses total control, I think he's your number 3. And then I don't know what they do for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I don't see Tugboat as a starter. Not with 87 and 91. I mean, hey. I don't know. Invisible? I didn't see that. Did you see an Invisible today?
Well, I know. I've heard about that same thing. I like his motion. You know, I think that's what really precedes it. He really just threw fastballs. He threw 18 fastballs, 3 sliders, 3 changeups. He really didn't mix up a lot. He just came right at him. And just like you said, he topped at 91, 92, got behind once or twice, but he came back. He's going to have to get another pitch, maybe a 2-seamer. Maybe a curveball, something that he can add into there, because you just can't go out there with fastball, slider, changeup with the numbers of velocity that you and I are talking about. That's on a decline. It's not on a tick higher. So we'll see what happens. He's only 23 years old, though, Rick, so maybe something else in that tank can come out.
Well, Jackson Flora, now granted, he's only, 19 or 20, but, you know, when you have 100 miles an hour, that might be able to play. And I don't know what they have down in Richmond. I haven't really paid attention to Richmond.
Yeah, but it's going to be difficult to have a pitcher come from Richmond in the big leagues. I really looked at the AAA pitching staff today, and there's really nothing that excites me. The numbers are all pretty high. Got a couple of guys in 6s and 7s. I hate to tell you, but Ryan Walker's pitching the best down there. He's got under a 2-point earned run average, but I just don't see him making it back up with the big leagues.
No, I watched him last night. They showed the game last night on TV after the Giants game was over, and he looked all right. But like you're saying, it's against the Rainier, whatever they're called, the Tacoma Rainier. So it's the Tacoma and the Rainier at Sacramento with about 500 people in the stands. It's not Oracle Park with 30,000. So, you know. Yeah. Anyways,
well, it's a big difference,
tonight,
no question.
Good win. Hey, it only took 65 to get our second 1-0 win of the year. And I don't have to keep taunting. We're 1-13 when we score 1 run. Now we're 2-13. So
yeah, well, hey, we got one more game tomorrow before they leave Cleveland. Maybe they can win that one. Rick, thanks for the call on a Wednesday night. All right, we're going to take a quick break on Sportsphone KNBR. Got a few more calls in there, 415-808-KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines. Dave Tobner is going to join me in a little bit from SF Gate. And later on in the show, Tim Flannery is going to join me, and we're going to talk a little bit about his realm as a 3 World Series champ third base coach. And, of course, he's got a great concert series coming up here in Northern California. I'm Bill Laskey. We'll be right back on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
In the field too, a couple infielders, I grabbed them and I was like, you guys, I was joking, you know, are y'all locked in? So I think causing conversation out of me, other players, guys cheering for them, you alluded to it in the dugout. It's, you know, for every team this late in the year, you're looking for something to separate one day from the next. For us, we're looking for positive vibes. We haven't created enough on our own, but at the same time, when you can get it from maybe something external or something new and refreshing, it's helpful, and that was very much all of that.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey, Tony Vitello talking about the energy that Matt Wilkinson brought to that clubhouse. Dylan Smith also talked about it on NBC Bay Area. He was player of the game with Rich Aureli, and they were talking about a new player, an MLB debut. And it's so funny when you hear Bryce Eldridge and Dylan Smith talk about the youngster, like they're so old, like they've had so much big league experience. But you know what? They're enjoying it. They're welcoming into that clubhouse. And the more young players that come in and literally work their tail off to be a big leaguer, now he's in the big leagues, he's got a couple innings in his back pocket. Now he can relax a little bit, learn the game. Now he gets to go to Fenway Park, which is going to be an eye awakener for him. And as I said, if everything goes the right way and it goes on a 5-man pitching rotation, we will see him Monday at home when they come back to play the Cincinnati Reds. That will be a fun Monday. All right, 415-808-KNBR. Let's go to Chris. Chris, you're from Santa Clara. Thanks for holding on, Chris. How are you this evening?
Hey, you know, I think Vitello made the right decision in pulling Wilkinson out after 2 innings. You know, it's he had a chance to get out there, show some success, walk off with something positive, and you know, perhaps that's one of those instinctive ways that Tony does know how to manage these younger players. And so, you know, I think a compliment to him. Take the win after 2 innings, and you know, got to keep building.
That's a great point, Chris. That's really a good point. That's a good point because Tony V and maybe Buster had talked to him about getting him a couple innings, getting his feet on the ground. When I came up in 82, I pitched 1 inning against the Dodgers, and I forgot all about it. And I remember the next start, which was my first start when I threw the only shutout of my career, and somebody said, no, you pitched an inning before that. And I forgot all about it. And sometimes you forget about it because you just want to get out there. You're in the big leagues. You're looking at the opponents. A lot of them you watched as a kid. But this was something that Matt Wilkinson did. This was the team that signed him. This was the team he thought he was going to get the big leagues with. And here's his Major League Baseball debut. How perfect of a picture was that painted for him?
Well, you know, and I'm glad you mentioned about your era of pitching because I've been waiting for a while. I mean, you know, I call you every so often. But the question I had for you is, you know, you played on a couple Giants teams that really had, you know, pretty rough records, just to try to be charitable. Mm-hmm. And when you look and you compare a couple of those teams, I think one was, 97 losses, something like that. If you compare that team to this team, does this team feel the same? Does it feel worse? Does it feel better? As you're looking at it, what's the difference in the vibe between that team back then, that was pretty bad, and what you're seeing now?
I think the biggest thing is how you're going to move forward. You know, we were stuck. We couldn't win. We didn't score runs, just like this team doesn't score a lot of runs. We had a good pitching staff. We went out there and battled, had a great bullpen, but we just couldn't get it together. I look at this team, and I think the biggest thing, the problem is fundamentals. Too many errors, too many mental mistakes. That's one thing I would say that has to be cleaned up for 2027. This pitching staff has to be cleaned up. The bullpen has to be changed. We didn't have the hitters as this team has. We didn't have much hitting back in those days. So when you went out there to pitch, you got 1 or 2 runs. You were trying to get through 6, 7, 8 innings with this putting zeros on the board. Tough years, but I was a young pitcher. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at my next start to try to get better, and I tried to achieve that. But you're right, Chris. When you lose so much and you're continuing to lose, man, it's tough to walk in that clubhouse and say, "Okay, guys, let's get it going today." It's tough, and you can kind of hear it in Tony's voice sometimes on the post-game shows. He's getting a little depressed on what he's watching.
Can I share a quick statistic with you? I went back and kind of dug up that, when you look over the last 10 years, so, starting from the beginning, 2016 till today, the Giants' cumulative regular season records, 809 and 834. So they're, minus 25 over that period of 10 years. The Dodgers, in contrast, are plus 394.
Of course.
Yeah, I knew there was going to be a difference. I had no idea it was going to be quite that much.
That big,
but
yeah.
to me, that's and that includes 2021. That's in there. If you take that out, then it really falls down to being the 12th team in the National League out of the 15 teams. So they move up to, I think it's number 9 when you keep 2021 in there. And I'm curious. Do you think the fan base? Do you think everybody in the media? Do they really realize the extended level of mediocrity, and even kind of below? I mean, it's the second tier. It's a second tier team for more than a decade.
I'm sure, Chris, you've heard a lot of callers on KNBR. They're disappointed on a lot of things that happened in the beginning of the year and how many different things that happened where pitching was not a priority. And I've said this many times. Buster Posey, as a catcher for 3 World Series teams, neglected to build that bullpen or even neglected to put the positions of each pitcher down there. It was kind of a crapshoot. Pick a name out of the hat. There was no kind of who's the long man, who's the middle guy, who's the setup guy, who's the closer. There wasn't that, and you have to have that at the big league level. And then you have an inexperienced manager that really was a fault of not knowing pitching. And I think that was the big issue going into this season. And you said a couple of things. This team could not overcome that. And it's happened more than this year. It's happened years back. A 500 team last year. You got to get better. And the only way to get better is you got to get better players. Don't you agree?
And I think it's also about expectations. In my own senses, I think the Giants this year are still adjusting to being the only team in the market and figuring out kind of how the fan base, deals with that. I mean, there's no other second team to hide from. And,
right.
The Giants have, the Giants could have kept the A's if they wanted them in the Bay Area. They could have easily said, hey, you can go down to Santa Clara County. We were absolutely ready. I mean, Santa Clara, heck, we got plenty of space over there next to Levi's. We could have built the stadium. And San Jose kind of gave it an effort down there.
Wait, Chris, let me ask you something. What do you think the Giants have to do for 2027? How are they going to change this?
Well, I think that if they really want to compete, you're absolutely right. They're going to have to decide they want to upgrade the bullpen, and they're going to have to upgrade the starting pitching staff. But I think it also goes somewhat beyond that. I do think Vitello should stay. I've never been one of your callers who says, hey, you got to get rid of Tony. But I think that there's got to be more level of who's really going to be accountable for the season. I would have liked to see Tony be really pushed by Buster to say, listen, I don't care how much we're paying these guys. You are the manager, and I want you to treat them the same way you treated your team in Tennessee. If they're good, then you play them. And if not, you sit them down and do it without regard to what their contract is. And I think that they've been trying to play both sides of the fence on this. You bring in a young manager who's used to being effectively the Dodgers of college baseball, and you put him into a team that is consistently been mediocre or sub-mediocre for more than a decade. The vibe's different unless you really let him have the keys to the car and say, we hired you, we want you to go kick ass, and we don't give a damn if the highest priced player on the team is really pissed off because we hired you to do it.
Yeah,
so
I think that's where the
to me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, Chris, the discipline hasn't been achieved. I think the voice of Tony, you hear it last Sunday when it had a meeting. We don't know how many meetings he's had. No one's really opened their mouth. I know Tidwell came on in the postgame, said he was upset, and he said make sure everybody understands it's each individual in here. Well, that's kind of late for me because it's August. That should have been played maybe in May when they were down. I mean, I don't know how many team meetings he's had. I don't know how many times he's brought players into his office and kind of talked to them a little bit, because I think that's what has to happen. I had Frank Robinson. Frank would call you in the office, close the door, and tell you, hey, I'm behind you, but you got to do this. You got to be better at this. You got to force yourself to push yourself a little more. As a young pitcher, man, I thrived off that. I'm listening to a Hall of Famer telling me he believes in me, and then he tells me to bust my tail. You're damn right I'm going to bust my tail. And maybe that's what has to happen with some of these veteran players. They need to talk a little bit more, and they're not. I think they're really complacent on what they're doing, and I'd love to see a little more of that from the player side. And I'm like with you, Chris. I want to see a little more fire out of Vitello.
Yeah, I mean, it's hunger for the players, right? I mean, anytime if you look back for his team with Tennessee, I think every player on that team, whether they were the best starter or somebody desperately trying to get off the bench, they were demonstrating hunger. I think Tugboat today demonstrated hunger. And if Vitello's got some guys on the team who say, you know what, I already got my $250 million. I mean, I'd like to win. I'm going to hit home runs. I'm not saying that, Devers doesn't want to, do something. But I don't get that sense of enough hunger where you're going to really lead and try to build up everybody else.
Yeah.
And but hopefully Tony.
And
has
I think
a
the
chance
first year
see
he's
what
going to
he can
learn
do, right?
from that, Chris. But I think you're right. He's got to be himself, and he was not that way. I think he was trying to. The one line that kind of got me was, "I'm not your manager. I want to be a teammate." And when I read that, I'm like, no. This isn't college baseball. This is big leagues. You don't do that here in the big leagues. You're the manager. They respect you. You respect them. That's what he has to learn if he's going to manage efficiently in the big leagues. But, Chris, thanks for the call. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for your time tonight. Hey, let's go to Greg up in Portland. Greg, you're on with Bill Laskey on a Wednesday. How are you up there, buddy?
I am okay. I really enjoyed this last call. Chris, I didn't agree with everything he said, but the guy knows baseball. You guys had a good talk.
There's some great calls tonight, and I think everybody's kind of looking down the road. And, of course, this season at 52 and 75, you're hoping you see a light somewhere. And I think today Giants fans were all happy to see the Tugboat go out there. But as you heard, some of the numbers that he threw today were not exceptional, but we're going to see if he can make those things work at the big league level.
Right. He brought up the point about Tugboat only going 2 innings and the reason for it, and I can understand that. I was wondering, why he didn't go 3, but that's a plausible explanation. So
well, he had 8-9-1 up. That's what I was thinking, Greg. He had 8-9-1 Hedges, Rocio, and then he came back up with Quan. I just thought maybe go 3 innings. Go 3 innings. See if you can push yourself, because he only threw 25 pitches, 14 for strikes. But there was a plan there. They had a plan. And Adrian Hauser, we're not giving him much respect, and he has just been pitching dynamic. 3 nice outings, 2 as a starter, and, of course, coming in, as they say, the opener from Wilkinson. And, man, he was tough again tonight.
He was. It was a pitcher's duel, which I enjoy also, like you, and that was it. So the main reason I called was I can't remember the name of the fellow, but
Rafael Devers.
I want to talk about Devers and the reception that I believe he will get in Boston. Boston isn't New York, and it isn't Philly. You could expect the booing and a rough reception possibly in those 2 places. I know Boston. I know their fans. I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I was there 2 years ago, just a week before Devers got traded. And I, took all that in, the talk and everything. And I got ties to Boston. And he might get a rough reception, but they got a lot of class, and I think they'll treat him right.
I do too.
So,
and I think the biggest thing is they won a World Series, and he was a big part of it. And for what he did playing third base for those many years and how he was such a young player, he's only 29 years old, Greg. He came up in the teens, 18, 19. And this is something that we don't gravitate to because we didn't see him that much. But in Boston,
that's right.
I really believe they're going to give him a standing ovation. If they don't, they should pinch the guy next to him because he was a big part of that Red Sox team.
I'll be surprised that if he doesn't get that kind of a reception.
Me too.
I was there when and I went to a game. I went to his. I went to the last game. I think it was the 12th of September of a 3-game series against Baltimore, and I had great seats. I was on the third base line. And I'd been reading the Globe, and I was there for a few days, and so. I know about the controversy that was going on about how he didn't want to play at third and he wanted to play at first and all this stuff. And I watched him, and then he winds up a Giant, and he's done very well here in the field. He's turned himself into a decent first baseman. So we all know that, and he's playing better and he's hitting. But
Greg, let me ask you this, Greg. Are you happy to see
right,
Eldridge play first base every game, or would you rather see Devers play first base?
No, I'm looking at Bryce Eldridge. Young player, gifted athlete. We develop him as a first baseman, and it looks like Devers is satisfied with his role. Play some first, and then be a DH. And if you can go with that. That's what I would do. Okay, you asked me, and I told you what I would do.
Yeah, the one thing I said, I think it was this weekend, I said maybe you just put Devers at DH for a series, and then you put Eldridge at first base for a series, and you flip-flop. But the more that I'm watching Eldridge play first base, I am fine with the 6'7" first baseman. Made a little fumble yesterday, but most of the time he's been dialed in, and here's a guy that's learning to play first base, just like Devers. And when you got a frame of 6'7", those infielders are loving that.
Yeah, you bet. But I give Devers credit. He's adjusted. He's done what the team's asked him to do. They've given him some leeway, and I'm happy, and we all ought to be happy. It's not the reason we're 20 games under 500 for sure.
Well, Greg, it was great talking to you, my friend, on a Wednesday night. Right. I appreciate your time. And we'll catch you on the weekend because I'll be doing the Red Sox series. But thanks for the call. Let's go to Berkeley. Talk to my friend Andrea. Andrea, how are you tonight?
Good, Bill. How are you?
Thanks for holding on, Andrea. I know you've been waiting for a while, but at the same time, a good game today, Andrea. They win 1-0 in Cleveland. One more game tomorrow starting at 10:10. Should be an exciting 3-game series as we finish out the series with Cleveland.
Yes, and welcome to fellow Sagittarius Tugboat, December 10, 2002. So he's got all that positive energy for Sagittarius. So may the baseball gods and goddesses bless. Wonderful debut. Really exciting to see him make that happen. And the Giants to win the game. That was really a nice perk.
Yeah, some really good pitching today. I think when you look at the pitching from Wilkinson for 2 innings, Hauser for 5, and of course Dylan Smith had a great 2 innings, punching out 5. You look at the pitching, and they did fantastic today. Of all the negatives and all the walks and all the blown saves, today was that outcome that Giants fans love to see, and it was a very good pitching performance for both sides. Okay, I must have lost Andrea. All right, we're going to take a quick break on Sports Phone KNBR with Bill Laskey. Coming up next, I'm going to sit down and talk to Dave Tobner from SF Gate and see what he thought about today's game. That's coming up next right here on the Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, back on KNBR. The Giants win the second game of a 3-game series, 1-0. They shut out the Guardians. 1 run, 7 hits, 1 error for the Giants. No runs, 6 hits, and no errors for the Cleveland Guardians. The win goes to Adrian Hauser. He's 4-7. He went 5 innings. And Dylan Smith gets his 3rd save of the year, going 2 innings, punching out 5. Great pitching performance by the San Francisco Giants. Joining me now, you can read his great work at SF Gate. Let's welcome in Dave Tobner. Dave, how are you tonight?
Oh, doing good, Bill. Nice, crisp, well-played game. We haven't got a lot of those this year, so that was a nice change of pace.
Well, the tugboat era is here. They had a great, kind of reception. They really didn't announce anything yesterday, and of course this morning they announced that he was coming up and getting the start today. You and I were texting each other pretty much throughout the game. Matt Wilkinson, 23-year-old left-hander. When you start looking at when he got drafted and how he signed with the Cleveland Guardians, and here he gets his Major League Baseball debut against the team that he really thought was going to get him to the big leagues. What did you think an overall picture on him today?
Yeah, pretty cool story. There's not a lot of guys that, number one, look like him in the big leagues anymore, and there's not a lot of pitchers that throw like him, and he doesn't overpower guys. He's a bigger guy, but, he sits at 89, 91 miles an hour on his fastball. So, I thought he did well considering, I'm sure he was nervous. He got behind a lot of the hitters that he faced, but he managed to work out of it. And, I would have liked to have seen him go one more inning, maybe get one turn around the lineup and see what he could do. But I understand, what they had set up for him, and maybe they see him as more of a long man in the future or a 5th starter, and just wanted to get his feet wet. And I thought he did great. I mean, what more could you ask for from him?
Well, Dave, I liked how he got the ball inside. A couple of those pop-ups, one to Kavanaugh, one to Koss. He jammed him, and he jammed him well. Even on that base hit he gave up, that was on the guy's hands. I like that out of him. As you said, he doesn't bring a lot of velocity. Maybe 91, 90, he was there. He threw a couple sliders, a couple change-ups, nothing to a point where you were like, wow, that was a great breaking ball. But he got his feet wet. He got to the big leagues. His family and friends were there, and that's the baseball story I love.
Yeah, and, like you said, jamming guys inside and, control and placement are going to be huge for him because, like you said, he's not overpowering anybody. So it was nice to see. It was a good story in a season that really hasn't had a lot of happy stories for the Giants. We got to take everything we can get. So it was very cool. The one piece coming over in the Bailey trade and making his debut in Cleveland, where he thought he was going to eventually play anyway. So good story. We need more of those in the dog days here.
Well, Patrick Bailey had a chance, runner on first base, winning run at home. He came up to the bat. Well, Dylan Smith just went right at him, threw about a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He didn't even swing at it, strike 3. Pretty impressive what the Giants did on the mound today. And, of course, Patrick Bailey's walking back to the dugout, hanging his hat, hanging his bat, and he ended up striking out to lose that game.
Yeah, how about Dylan Smith? I mean, 6-out save and coming in and, immediately having a runner on second with nobody out and striking out the side. And, boy, he looks like he can handle the late innings. I don't know if he's a closer per se, but 7th inning, 8th inning guy, I think, he's making a name for himself in a case to be an arm that they count on either next year or whenever they play baseball again. But that's the important thing about the rest of this year. They have to see what they have in some of these guys and whether they can be long-term contributors to see, where they have to shore things up and where they have to add. So, making a name for himself and coming in and being able to shut things down like that, it's a great sign that he might have the mentality for late inning work. And not everybody has that.
The one thing that I said earlier, Dave, was now Tony Vitello's got to sit him for a day. Don't push him tomorrow. He did that last time, and he came into a game and he didn't have that closing stuff. This is where he's got to learn the bullpen. Okay, Dylan Smith, you're off today. See you in Boston. You're not pitching at all today. Give him the day off.
Right.
That's how you regulate the bullpen. Bruce Bochy was a master at that. You gave me your best. You threw 30 pitches, 22 for strikes. Nice job. Take a rest tomorrow. You're not in there. And I'm hoping he sees that.
Yeah, especially now when they're not playing for anything except pride. They don't need him to come in and shut a game down, because they can gain a game in the standings, or they're trying to hold off somebody from gaining on them. This is just a warm-up or a showcase for next year, really. So, I hope you're right. I hope he's kind of learned a little bit as he's gone about bullpen management and when to shut guys down for a day or two, and he's earned it. A six-out save like that, he can take a day off and keep his head up for that. That was an incredible performance tonight.
Well, Adrian Hauser sure making a point of being a starting pitcher. And I think you heard my numbers earlier, 16 innings in 3 of the last games, only giving up 1 earned run, 12 hits, 12 strikeouts, 4 walks. Boy, he was electric today. A fastball, 97 at times. He threw 42 fastballs, 22 sinkers. The movement on his sinker going away on a righty, pulling it on the outside corner. Then he would throw that same pitch to a lefty in on his hands. A good changeup. He only threw 10. But the 3-pitch mix with the fastball, sinker, and changeup, he kept him off stride. 6 ground ball outs, 6 fly ball outs, 11 first pitch strikes to 20 hitters. I really believe he wants to start, and he's sure showing signs that he should.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it took until August to show those signs, but I agree with you. He's showing why he looks like a guy that they were hoping they'd get when they gave that contract to him last winter. It took him a while to get there, and everybody knows the struggles he had and being demoted to the bullpen and everything like that. But he seems to have found something, and you hope that it's something that he can repeat, because he's not going anywhere. He's making a lot of money relative to what the Giants like to spend. He's going to be part of the rotation, or as a long man, you hope he's part of the rotation. You're paying him to be part of the rotation. So if it's something that he can repeat and something that he can, be consistent with, the Giants have to be excited about it, because the rotation outside of Webb is a complete mystery and a complete question mark going into the next season. So anybody that can come in and establish themselves is going to it's a blessing for the Giants, because it's one less thing that they'll have to address this winter.
Well, the other thing, too, Dave, you don't have to be a number 2 or a number 3 as long as he's in a 5-man rotation, and he could be a 3 or 4 depending on what Landon Roop does. If he gets his act together, he's got electric stuff. And you're so right. What does this team have in starting pitching? Blade Tidwell throws 2 good games. His last game walked 5. Carson Wisenhunt really has gone backwards in my eyes. He threw the ball so well coming up, and he threw the ball well in Sacramento. Then you have Adrian Hauser. What can you do with this staff? There isn't much to do. There isn't many guys out there. And I'm right with you with Matt Wilkinson. I think the biggest problem it's going to have in the big leagues is the second and third time when lineups come around on him.
Yeah, when you don't have the stuff to overpower guys, it's tough seeing a lineup twice, especially the better lineups. They're going to adjust to that in a snap, unless you're Greg Maddux. But even when Greg Maddux was young, he was throwing in the high 90s. But unless you can spot the ball like a Greg Maddux, you have to kind of rely on some luck, some hit ball luck, and some being able to place the ball where you want to place it. And it seems like he's a guy that maybe can get through a lineup once, twice if you're lucky. What does that mean? Is that a 4-inning guy? Is it a 3 or 5-inning guy? It's hard to say, but they have another month and a half to kind of figure that out and see where he is. And he's on the 40-man now, so they have to decide if he's worth keeping on the 40-man. And they have, just like going into last offseason when the bullpen needed work and they needed a couple of starters, they have the exact same issues this time. So we'll see if Posey and Minasian learned any lessons from this season when they actually do have to go sign some guys.
Well, I said it a few times on the show. The next start for the Tugboat would be Monday in the first home game against Cincinnati. How cool would that be for that crowd to get in there and give him a Tugboat welcome? And we'll see if he stays in the rotation. I would love to see that. Dave Tobner joining me on the Sportsphone KNBR on a Wednesday. You can read his work at SF Gate. Does a great job covering the Giants. Victor Barracuda got a start in left field, made one hell of a play, diving at the ball, made some great all-field catches. He ended up getting the game winner. He got the game-winning RBI with a base hit after Eldridge and Adames flew out. And Rafael Devers was standing on third with 2 outs, and he came up with the clutch base hit. What do you see in Victor Barracuda moving forward?
Well, we've talked about him before, and like I said, he really reminds me a lot of Elliot Ramos in a way. The same way they play, he's a similar hitter. Obviously hasn't had the success that Ramos has had. But, he seems to be like he's got the potential to at least be a contributor. He made that great play in left today, saved a couple of runs, saved the game, won the game with his bat and won the game with his glove, really.
Yeah.
And, it's exciting to see a guy like that, kind of an unheralded guy coming up. You didn't really hear a lot about him, but, he's done enough, I think, to get some run down the stretch here and see if he might be able to at least be a platoon bat. If him and Gilbert can form a lefty-righty platoon, that might work out best for both of them. But he's an exciting player. He's a guy that you want to see more of. And I think his emergence was one of the reasons why they were comfortable in trading Ramos. I know they've got other guys in the system who they have a lot of high hopes for, outfielders. But he's a little unheralded guy, but he seems like he can be a contributor.
Well, Dave, you and I were talking about Willie Adames when he got scratched with a back issue, and we just didn't know if he was going to go on the IL, if there was just a couple days taken off, and he started today, and I was glad to see him. And he had a nice 3-for-4 game, and he made a nice play, and then, of course, a tough spin. I think that's where he made the error off of, but he didn't come in to get it. It's good to see him out there, but how long are we going to see him possibly with this lower back strain?
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that he had one of his better games in a while after he had some time off. So maybe that kind of tells him something. It might not be bad enough to shut him down for the rest of the year, but maybe he misses. He plays one, takes one off, plays two, takes two off. I think he's got too much pride and he wants to be in there. And he's had a down year. There's no other way to say it. He's had a really disappointing year, and I think I hope that bothers him a little bit. I get the impression that it does, but I hope it does because, you never want to not live up to the expectations and to the contract that you signed. But I think, I think rest did him well, and I think hopefully he realizes that. And, I think he's still I don't think they're going to shut him down by any means, but I think you're going to see a little bit less of him than you normally would.
Well, Dave, after tomorrow, the Giants go to Boston for a weekend series. Of course, some conversation tonight on a few calls about what is Rafael Devers going to have? Is he going to have a standing ovation? Are they not going to be liking him? Or is he going to have boo birds coming at him? What's your thoughts about Rafi going back into Boston?
Oh, I hope they cheer for him. He was on a World Series winner. He came up through their system. He was a young guy who really performed well for the Red Sox. I mean, he was one of the best hitters in the American League when he was there. And I know that his exit it was a little acrimonious. It wasn't what they intended or what they had hoped it would be. But, I hope they at least give him a nice ovation. They can boo him after that, but I think they should acknowledge, what he, I hope they acknowledge at least what he did for the franchise. And he was a big part of that World Series winner when he was 19 or 20 years old. So,
yeah.
I think they'll welcome him back. I hope so. I think there was some bad blood between him and the organization, but I never heard him, say a bad word about the fan base there. So. I hope he does. You never like to see anybody that played that well for a team get booed when he comes back. So I think they'll do the right thing.
Well, the Giants pitched Matt Wilkinson today against the Cleveland Guardians, a team they traded for him. Now, are we going to see Marcelo Mayer? Are we going to see him up now when he goes to Boston? Because I think that would be a great homecoming, because there's no question he wants to put a Giants uniform and perform well.
Yeah, now he might get booed. They might not be as forgiving to him. So, the comments he made that he can't wait to play in San Francisco and he wanted to be on the West Coast and all that. So they might not take too kindly to that. But that would be a very cool story, wouldn't it? I mean, his debut with the Giants back at Fenway. I know Eric Miller's been killing it for them over there. He's pitching really well for them. So it would be really nice to see the piece they got back for him kind of make his debut and show what they have in him. He's a total lottery ticket, but when you have the opportunity to get a guy like that for a relief pitcher who probably doesn't fit into your long-term plans, that's an easy call every single time. So that would be a really cool story. I hope he does, and I hope he kind of sticks it to him a little bit.
A few more minutes with Dave Tomer. You can follow him on X at GG Giants. Does a great job about talking Giants and a lot of different feelings he feels for a lot of players. And I think I want to jump into this last point, Dave. Landon Roop. A lot of hurdles he's got to get through, and there's always that one inning where he throws 30, 35 pitches, and it just kind of upsets him. He doesn't challenge the hitters. A big game for him tomorrow. I really believe this start, he's got to shake this. And Dave Fleming and Javi said that they talked to him, in the clubhouse, and he's worked really hard and trying to be more aggressive. And I think that's what you want to see out of these pitchers. Three ball counts. He leads the Major League Baseball with that. That's not a stat you're proud of.
No, not at all. And it's like we were just talking about, the rotation has so many question marks that this is the chance for someone like him to come in and really take by the reins and make a name for yourself and lock down that rotation spot. And his last, I know he gave up a run against Detroit, but he only lasted 5 1/3, I think, and then 5 2/3 against Colorado. Didn't even go 5 innings against the Padres, and before that, I think it was Milwaukee, and he didn't even go 4 innings then. So it's been a really up and down season for him. He looked like an all-star in the beginning, and then he fell off, and then he came back again, and he fell off again. So too inconsistent. You'd like to see a little more consistency from a guy like that, especially if you're going to count on him to take up one of those rotation spots next year or whenever they play again. So big start for him tomorrow, and you hope that he makes those adjustments. He seems like a very a fiery kind of guy, and you have to wonder if his emotions get the best of him sometimes. Maybe that's what he has to work on and really overcome. But it's a big start for him tomorrow. So
I really think so.
I
really do, and I think it's a good game to gauge him on and move forward, and we'll definitely find out. But Dave, thanks again for joining me on a Wednesday night. It's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Always a pleasure talking to you after a win, Bill. It's very rare, so I'll take it.
All right, Dave, have a good night. All right, coming up next, I sat down with my producer, Ralph, and the end of May, after Matt Wilkinson, the tugboat, got traded over here, I did an interview with him in Richmond. And to get to know Matt Wilkinson a little bit more, we're going to play that interview coming up next. Bill Laskey talking to the tugboat as he got traded over to Richmond about a week after that. That's coming up next right here on Sportsphone KNBR.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm honored to bring a new San Francisco Giants to the Bay and introduce who he is. Of course, he was traded on May 9th for Patrick Bailey. Let's welcome in Matt Wilkinson. Matt, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Pleasure to have you on. Pleasure, as always. On May 9th, tell me how that day went on from you and how it was told you were traded to the San Francisco Giants.
I was getting ready for bed and got a call at like 1:30, like 1:30 from the assistant GM of the Guardians. And it was pretty quick and blunt. Just, you've been traded, and that's that. And you'll hear from San Francisco.
Now, as a young player, you're 23 years old. What was the first thought you had in your head?
Just new opportunities. I was with most of my draft class with Cleveland, so just, meeting new people and stuff like that, but also kind of like a fresh start, and hopefully here to help this organization win.
Now, I understand you were pitching with Akron, and Akron was playing Richmond. You just had to move clubhouses, is that right?
Yeah. Next day, I just had to go grab my stuff and change clubhouses.
Now, relationships in baseball go a long way. Did you know anybody on the Richmond Flying Squirrels roster?
Not really. Knew of a couple guys, played against them, but I pitched against them 2 nights before, so I was pretty familiar with at least all of the hitters and stuff like that.
Matt Wilkinson joining me on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Let's talk a little bit where you grew up. You grew up in Vancouver, Canada, and you ended up playing in the Little League World Series for Canada. And sure enough, this year you play for the WBC team, Canada. Tell me a little bit about both those experiences, if you remember the Little League World Series.
Little League World Series was cool. It was kind of like the first moment in baseball where I was like, oh, damn, could be pretty good at this if we work at it. But obviously as a 12-year-old, that's kind of like the dream if you play baseball, and just to be able to go there. We didn't perform too well, but it was a cool experience, and I'm grateful that I got the opportunity. And then the WBC was just a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting to play with big leaguers, and I kind of went in as a sponge, not expecting to pitch much, and then I got some pretty big innings at the end of the day. So
You did, Matt. You ended up pitching against Panama, which was a very good team. Your thoughts going into that game? Of course, you're throwing out of the bullpen. You ended up punching out a couple guys. Any thoughts? Any nervousness coming toward you?
Not too much nervousness. I was just trying to cool the adrenaline and not ride the adrenaline too high. Remember, it's just a baseball game at the end of the day, and just got to go out there and make pitches.
Well, Matt, let's go back in time. Like I said, you grew up in Vancouver. You had an older brother. You guys played a lot of baseball, a lot of wiffle ball. Did you enjoy hockey? Did you ever get on the ice and skate?
I did for fun, but nothing crazy. My dad gave me the option. He said, do I want to play hockey or football? And I chose football. So I guess I'm not really a true Canadian there, but hockey's always, all my buddies played it growing up. So it's definitely something I interest. I've just never really played it before.
So as the story goes, how you got your nickname Tugboat, you were playing in a Little League game and you were around at the bases, and your dad's best friend, Phil McNear, said, hey, he looks like he's running like a tugboat. And the story...
Something around those lines, but yeah, it was something like that. It's probably...
And how did you accept that? Did you like that, or how did it turn out for you?
I mean, it just stuck with ever since, and then it blew up at the Little League World Series, so...
So now you're the original tugboat, right? You're the original tugboat in baseball.
I guess so.
Well, when you were growing up, of course, the Blue Jays were in Canada, and of course, a lot of teams in America. What pitcher did you kind of look after, and what kind of, thoughts of maybe I could be like him?
Growing up, I know Giants fans ain't gonna like this, but I did like watching Kershaw, but But as of late, I do like watching Robbie Ray and like kind of like how he goes about his business and stuff like that. So that's kind of been my thought process.
Well, let's go over what your pitch repertoire is. Of course, a high velocity fastball. You elevate it very well. You also have a beautiful sweeper, off-speed pitch. The cutter is coming across, and the changeup you're working on. Are those pretty much your four basic pitches?
Yeah, those are.
When you're throwing off-speed pitches, is this something you're working on to get better?
As of late, it's just been in zone, trying to get them in zone. As you get up in the levels, hitters stick to their approach, and if it's not near their go zone, they're not going to make, swing at bad pitches. So just trying to make better pitches with all my pitches. Kind of fastball intent with everything, but just trying to become a pitcher.
Matt Wilkinson, alias the Tugboat, joining me for a few more minutes on the Extra Inning post-game show. Defense is a top priority for you. Now, of course, you have a big-sized body with you, a little oversized, but you're pretty quick. You're versatile. Any idea how many errors you've made so far in professional baseball?
No idea.
One. That's it.
One
error. It's probably a throwing error because, like I said, you're versatile. I saw a great play where the ball got by the catcher. You covered home plate perfectly. You caught the ball, retrieved it, tagged a runner pretty quick. How do you do that? How do you stay so quick on your feet?
Just stay athletic, I guess. I don't know. I don't overthink it. I just go out and compete to the best I can.
Now, of course, when I say one error, you got to be fielding a lot. You got to worry about covering first base as a left-hander. Of course, you fall off to the third base side. You got to be pretty quick getting over there. What are some of the things you try to do to get there quicker than the runner?
Just anything that's hit to that side and moving that way right away.
And then you hustle, huh?
Yes, sir.
Some of the things you like to do, Matt. What is some of the music you like to listen to?
No, I'm a big country guy, but kind of everything. Before it starts, it's heavy metal and get into a different type of headset.
You go right into the headset and jam out, huh?
Yeah, and then other than that, I'm a big golfer. I love golfing whenever I can in the free time.
What kind of handicap are you?
Not too great. I'm like a 9.
Now, let me ask you, you hit from the left side or the right side?
I'm righty.
Right-handed, huh? Now, when you were batting back when you were younger, were you a lefty or a right-handed batter?
Righty.
Right. What kind of foods you like, Matt? Is something you'd like to gravitate to?
Steak, I guess.
Yeah. What about before a game? Do you go light? Do you go pasta, fish, anything like that? Or does it bother you what you eat?
Day before, probably pasta, but day of, light, very light.
What about movies? You watch a lot of movies? You watch TV in your spare time?
YouTube golf guy.
Big time golf guy.
I'm a big golf guy, so I just like watching just as much golf as I can.
What about video games?
NHL
are you a video
playoffs,
guy? Matt, are you a video guy? Do you play a lot of videos?
Like video games?
Yeah.
Occasionally. Not really, though.
So going to your last start, you pitched very well. You went 5 innings, only gave up 2 hits. This was your first game in a Richmond Flying Squirrels uniform. 6 strikeouts, no walks, 74 pitches, 46 strikes. A very solid game for you. Game plan going in, what was it?
Just I was very familiar with the team before. Faced them a bunch in high when I was with Cleveland. So they knew my stuff, and kind of as of late, especially against them in the past, I haven't been able to land my changeup. And yesterday, was my bread and butter. I was landing the changeup whenever I wanted, and and you can do that. The fastball even plays better. So I was able to, get some quick outs, but fell behind early a little bit in the early half of the game, but found a way late to get 5 and put us in a good position to win.
Couple more minutes with Matt Wilkinson, the Tugboat. Of course, now he's with the San Francisco Giants. You played one summer in Cape Cod, a beautiful setting for college baseball. You didn't pitch much out there. Were you just out there for a short time?
Yeah, I was just out there. I was a junior college guy, so I just wanted to get a little more exposure in front of scouts, and I pitched good. And then I was committed to ASU at the time, and they were pretty much begging me to come back because they wanted me to go to school and not sign.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to come back, and luckily enough, I still signed, and happy to be where I'm at.
And that was Central Arizona Junior College, correct? You were going to go to a JC in Arizona?
I did go to a JC in Arizona.
1 year, was it?
2 years, 22 and 23.
How did you like Arizona?
I mean, I love Arizona. It's second home to me. I've been there ever since getting drafted, so I was pretty happy to find out when the Giants spring training's in Arizona.
Yeah,
So
that's a big
can still
plus.
do most of my,
Beautiful,
do most of my off season.
complex. Yeah, beautiful complex. You'll like Papago, of course, Scottsdale Stadium.
It's going to be a little better than Goodyear, I'll tell you that.
Well, as we finish up with Matt Wilkinson, Matt, what is your expectations right now going through with the Richmond Flying Squirrels?
I just helped them win this first half of the Eastern League. I think we have a really good squad, and take it day by day. But I've only been with the team for about 6 days now, and it's they've been awesome, and I'm happy that we're on the winning side, on the good team now, and I'm excited to win some ball games.
Well, Matt, congratulations on being a San Francisco Giants, and thank you for your time today. And stay healthy and pitch well for Richmond, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Matt Wilkinson. I got to interview him in the latter part of May, and you got to see him a little nervous, very young, 23 years old. But, it's something that I wanted to put out there tonight. Of course, Tugboat pitched today in his Major League Baseball debut, went 2 innings, giving up 1 hit, 25 pitches he threw, 14 for strikes. And it was a good thought of myself and Ralph putting this together and throwing it back out there for Giants fans to understand a little bit about him. And, I do a lot of interviews, and it's difficult sometimes with younger players like Matt that don't do interviews, and you're trying to get them to relax and talk a little bit, kind of get into their ways of thinking. And he'll get better. Dave Fleming said it also on the radio side on the postgame show. Somebody's got to work with him. Well, you got to get relaxed. You got to get comfortable in what you do, and Matt Wilkinson's definitely going to do that as we continue with his big league. He's on the roster now, so his big league dreams are coming true, and hopefully we will see him on Monday, because that's the next time he will start against the Cincinnati Reds when the Giants come back home. All right, coming up next, I sit down with the Flan man, Tim Flannery, of course, a 3-time World Series champion, coaching third base. He played with the San Diego Padres for 11 years. Him and Jake Peavy and the Lunatic Fringe are coming up north for a little I would say, music get-together, a little times that he's going to go out there with the band and do a little tour. It starts August 27th in Half Moon Bay, August 28th in Santa Cruz, August 29th in Chico, August 30th in Novato. And Tim Flannery and I are going to talk baseball for a little bit. Then we're going to get into his musical tour. That's coming up next. Tim Flannery and I, right here on Sportsphone KNBR.
Sound off on the sports leader. Sportsphone KNBR keeps rolling right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
Welcome back to KNBR with Bill Laskey. I'm honored to have a guest on. 11 years he played for the San Diego Padres. He was a third base coach from 2007 to 2014 for the San Francisco Giants. And in that time, he became a three-time World Series champion. He's in my Hall of Fame. Let's welcome in Tim Flannery. Hey, Flan man, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tree. How you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. Well, let's talk about this Giants team first off. A lot of young players coming up, a lot of them unexperienced at the big league level. You saw a lot of young talent in your years here with the Giants. How does this team maintain these young players, and how did they get better?
Well, there's only one way you got to get better, and that's through experience and through doing the reps. There's no easy way. And so when somebody is rushed to the major leagues, it can be dangerous. It can be exciting as a player development guy, but it also can be dangerous because it's a tough league. There's no other league higher than this one. And they don't let you up when you make mistakes. And nobody cares if you got your dauber down. You've got to find a way. As Alan Trammell, the great Hall of Fame shortstop at Detroit Tigers, always, and a great coach, he always would say, this game is such a negative game in the sense of failure. It's a game of failure, so you've got to learn to trick your mind. You've got to be able to convince yourself that because the more you go dark, it doesn't let you out. You've got to climb out of the hole yourself, and it's a tough place at the major league level to do that.
Well, Tim, we've experienced it when we came up to the big leagues. It's a whole different game. The lights are brighter, more crowds. Everything is now under a microscope because everything you're doing as a young player, people are watching to see if you can be a big leaguer. Fundamental mistakes, mental mistakes. There's so many things that have happened this season with the Giants, with the younger players. How do you fix it? How do you teach these players, relax, be calm, make the game easier?
Well, it's a tough one at the big league level, and players can be ruined because of it. You've got to be able to pump them up, and you've got to have the right mentality as a player to make it. And when you get up to the big leagues, especially if you get rushed, I mean, I came up when I was 21 years old. I wasn't ready, but San Diego at that time had nothing really as far as a younger player. So when I came up, it was difficult. And when you're in the minor leagues and hitting 350 every year and, runner up, I was runner up always in the batting title. And then you come to the big leagues and you're facing the guys that you grew up watching and idolizing. It took a while to get over that. And you've got to be able to deal with it because you'll get crushed. And the hardest thing I remember for me was a guy that was a great minor league hitter. When I would come up to hit, I would look up on that scoreboard and it would say like 210 batting average and it's hard to dig out of that hole if in fact mentally you can't because that's what this game is all about. It's the mental toughness that makes the players. There's a lot of great physical athletes that never make it to the big leagues because they can't handle what comes with it, with the pressure, with the demands, with the gambling. I still don't know why that ever happened. It's the worst thing the commissioner could have ever done. It's putting people's lives in stake where people lose money on bets. I mean, I had guys screaming at me back when there was no official betting, but I would hold a guy in the ninth inning because we were down by 4 runs and I didn't want to make an out on the bases because it didn't matter. You had to, and the guy was screaming at me and I looked at him, I go, you're betting, aren't you? Because if I would have sent the guy, he would have covered his bet, even though there was a chance of getting thrown out and then losing him that way as well. It's a mental game, and you've got to find ways to overcome it because nobody cares. Nobody's going to lift you up and pat your butt and say, "Okay, baby, you're all." This is vicious at this level. And personally, from my point of view, there's something going on when players show up at the big leagues and they don't know how to run the bases. Yeah. There's a problem when they get to the big leagues and they're surprised by bunt plays. I've seen that when the Giants were down 2-0, 8th inning, I think against the Cubs. They had the Cubs get 2 guys on, and they sacrificed bunt, which they should, and nobody really even knew it was coming. And they threw the ball around, and it turned into a crooked number inning. Yeah, there's some. For me, they're tough to watch, and have they gotten better over the year? I don't know. So I'm just watching because I'm in a very comfortable place. I'm never going to really double or second guess anybody that's in the trenches because they know a lot more than the couch coaches. And at the point, I used to get on the couch coaches as a third base coach. But I'm probably one of the greatest couch coaches of all time. I sit in my big old lounge chair with, a blanket over me, and boy, I've never made a mistake.
Tim Flannery joined me on KNBR, and you never make a mistake. And at the same time, everybody on your TV set is making mistakes. That's the issue of it. But Tim, you talk about young players coming up, and let's go on the offensive side a little bit. Getting in the box, knowing what the situation is. You just talked about laying bunts down, sack bunts, knowing what the defense is giving you ahead of you. And these guys just don't have a clue sometimes. They don't adjust pitch to pitch. And when they strike out, they kind of look back at the umpire like it's his fault.
Yeah.
This is what's frustrating to me as a big league pitcher, watching these guys not swing at pitches right there. And it just kind of elevates how immature some of these guys are. And you said it. Are they big league ready? Are they mentally and physical ready? And I don't think they are.
Yeah, well, you just said it. You can, as a hitter, you can get up there and think you have the idea and how before the game, before nobody's in the ballpark, and you've got, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Well, at the major league level, it changes from at bat to at bat, game to game, and you can go up thinking this is what's going to happen, and then you get overwhelmed because they're either pitching you different or they're playing you different. But the fact of the matter is, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and I always would tell the base runners in San Francisco the first day of spring training. I go, all of you guys have been lifting weights. All you hitters have been lifting weights all winter, getting strong, hitting in the batting cages for hours and hours and hours. And I listen to you here in spring training. You hit 3 times a day, all to get on base.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got these pitchers that are lifting weights, watching videos of you as a hitter. How am I going to get him out? Runs, gets his stamina up, and then he pitches to try to keep you off base. And now there's also 8 guys and a catcher, 8 mitts or 8 gloves and 1 catcher's mitt. And as a coach, I hit 300, 400 ground balls every day
easily
for these guys to get good defensively to keep you off base. So running the bases must be pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it at your fantasy camp, but I went off on my fantasy team that, were older than me. But I told him that. I go, the whole thing is, why are you making outs on the base? I said, the greatest education, the greatest teacher, the greatest entity of the game, the greatest baseball mind in the world, if you went to find it, it would be a scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
The scoreboard teaches you how to play the game. You can't just go out and play. And that's what it looks like. And that's usually because their brains scrambled, because the plan they thought they were going to go with, every bat changes in the major leagues.
It sure does. Tim Flannery joined me on KNBR, and you're coming up north. You're up here for 4 nice, beautiful concerts coming up August 27, 28, 29, 30th. 4 days in a row. The Tim Flannery and Jake Peavy are going to be on stage together. And, of course, you're bringing up the varsity, the Lunatic Fringe. Tell us a little bit about this concert run you're running through.
Well, Jake months ago said to me, he goes, I'd love to come out and open for you. And I go, I'm about ready to book a little run of shows up there to some of my favorite places. And over the years, we've had really great, welcomed at these places. And so Jake's all in, and he's going to open the shows and then come on to the when I'm playing the second set, he's coming back out, and we're going to play a couple of his favorite Dead songs. As he was running around with Phil Lesh as well, and Bobby Weir took care of us and kind of took us under his wing and gave us some amazing lessons in music, in life. So, it's going to be great. The 27th, we are at Half Moon Bay OPL, and it's all these are almost sold out. So, but people should jump on it.
That's great.
The next night, we're Santa Cruz Kumba Theater on the 28th. The 29th, we're at Chico, the Chico's Women's Club up there. And then the next night, on the 30th, we are in Novato Hot Monk Concert, Cookout Concert Series. And you can get tickets at timflannery.com on my website. You can just all you got to do is hit the show link. And I also got 14 records for free. If you want to listen to any of our songs up there, I welcome people to definitely do that so they see that we didn't just start this yesterday.
Well, Tim, that's what I kind of want to ask you. Maybe a lot of fans haven't heard your music before, and maybe they want to learn a little bit about it. What is your type of music, and what can they expect when they come to these concerts?
Well, it's real, it's organic. I guess if you had to name it, they would call it Americana. I come from my family's music comes from the mountains of Kentucky through Ireland over. So I have a traditional bluegrass record. I have an Irish record that was released in Dublin in Ireland. So, but of late, I love to write songs about the characters I've met on the road through the years, and just it's in our DNA, and it's something that we love to do, and I love to do it, and we're very well prepared. In the Lunatic Fringe, I've told people before, if you check their backgrounds, I mean, we got San Diego Music Hall of Famers in it. We've got Doug Pettibone, who's just got off tour. He's Lucinda Williams' right-hand man and just got off the Bob Dylan, Lucinda Williams tour. And the first thing he says, he goes, "I got to go with you loonies up there." And I said, "Dougie, I can't afford you anymore." But then I go, "Give me a second. Let me call Jake." And I call Jake and I go, "Hey, Pettibone's available, but I can't pay him." He goes, "I'll take care of him. I want him on young, So we're bringing the best, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And with the Lunatic Fringe, we've been down here playing. We probably played 25 shows over the last 3 months.
Easily.
Yeah,
You're on tour down San Diego, all over, and you also do solo shows. That's what I think is very impressive with you, Tim.
Yeah, well, that's how it starts, and that's how it always is going to be. All the years in the baseball world, I always carried a guitar with me. It really helped me just to be able to be in a room after games, and it kept me from jumping probably a couple times. But to be able to write songs about the characters I've met out on the road and some of the things that happen, they're all baseball related, even though they probably won't all have baseball and bats in the lyrics.
Right.
But people can put two and two together, I'm sure.
Well, one last time. August 27th, you're in Half Moon Bay. August 28th, you're in Santa Cruz. August 29th, you're in Chico. And August 30th, you're in Novato. So up here in Northern California, go out and support Tim Flannery and Jake Peavy and the Lunatic Fringe. It's a fun time. So glad I got to catch you up with you today, Tim.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks so much.
That was Tim Flannery on KNBR. More coming up right here on The Sports Leader.
Now Barry Cotto, ground ball deep into the hole and short. Diving into shallow left, Rocchio, and it's off his glove, rolls away toward the foul line, and that gets Devers home. 1-0 Giants. Safe at first is Barry Cotto with a single and a run batted in.
This is Sportsphone KNBR. Dial the digits or send us a text at 415-808-KNBR. We're streaming on YouTube all damn day at KNBR 1045.
All right, back on KNBR with Bill Laskey as we finish up a Sportsphone KNBR show. Larry Krueger coming up next with Niners Nightly. As John Miller said, the only run the Giants got today was a base hit by Victor Barracoda. That was in the fourth inning after Rafael Devers hit a double. A fly ball by Willie Adames and another fly ball by Bryce Eldridge kept him at second. And all of a sudden, a wild pitch was made. Devers goes to third, and Victor Barracoda hits a ball right off the shortstop's glove into short left field. And the Giants scored the run in the fourth inning, and that was the only run that was needed as the Giants win their 52nd game today. 1-0. 1 run, 7 hits, 1 error for the Giants. No runs, 6 hits, and no errors for the Cleveland Guardians. As I said, the Giants are 52-75, and Cleveland is now 61-66. On the pitching side, a Major League Baseball debut tonight as Matt Wilkinson, a.k.a. the Tugboat, got his first start in Major League Baseball to a team that traded him. They traded him on May 9th for Patrick Bailey, and he got his first chance to pitch at Progressive Field today. He went 2 innings, giving up 1 hit, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. Threw 25 pitches, 14 for strikes, 3 first pitch strikes to 7 hitters, 2 ground ball outs, 4 fly ball outs. And Tony Vitello shut him down after 2 innings. Adrian Hauser came in, and boy, he just pitched very well tonight. He went 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. He threw 80 pitches, 48 for strikes. He has just been throwing really well. In his last 3 the games he's pitched, 16 innings pitched, 12 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts. He wants to get back into starting rotation. He threw that against Detroit, Houston, and now Cleveland. He ended up getting a win today. He's 4-7. But really the star of the pitcher was Dylan Smith. He came in the 8th inning as Adrian Hauser walked Stephen Kwan, the first hitter he saw, in the bottom of the 8th. And the first pitch that Dylan Smith threw was a wild pitch. The tying run was on second base. It didn't stop Dylan Smith. He struck out Jose Ramirez, Nathan Lowe, and Angel Martinez. 3 strikeouts in a row. Punched out 3 to end the 8th inning. And he went back out there in the 9th inning. Got a ground ball out, then a base hit. And next thing you know, a punch out by Perry Halpin. And sure enough, it came up to 1 at bat. Patrick Bailey, pinch hitting for Austin Hedges. And he ended up striking him out as Patrick Bailey watched strike 3, and the game was over. Dylan Smith goes 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 5 strikeouts, 30 pitches he threw, 22 for strikes. He was bringing gas at 97 and 98 miles an hour with a sharp breaking ball and a nice split finger. He earned his 3rd save of the year. 3 saves for Dylan Smith, and Adrian Hauser won his 4th game. He's now 4-7. So the rubber match game's tomorrow. It's an early one, 10-10 right here on KNBR first pitch as Landon Roop goes for the San Francisco Giants. He's 7-12 with a 4.3 earned run average, 129 in a 3rd innings, 108 hits. The biggest thing is the 60 walks. He's got to throw strikes tomorrow with 128 strikeouts. Landon Roop is needed in this game. His last couple outings, he threw a good game against Detroit. But his last outing against Colorado, he ended up walking guys and he got in trouble. He ended up giving up 4 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings. The San Diego start before that, 4 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs. So Landon Roop needs to go out there and go a little deeper into the game, challenge hitters, and get ahead. Cleveland Guardians are throwing Gavin Williams, a 27-year-old right-hander. He's 11-7, 3.7 earned run average. He can throw it. He can bring it. 149 innings pitched, 116 hits. Here's the number you're looking for, 190 strikeouts. Gavin Williams, the right-hander, for the Cleveland Guardians tomorrow. Giants will take on the Boston Red Sox Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Logan Webb on the hill Friday against Sonny Gray. That should be a great pitching matchup. First pitch right here on KNBR at 4:10. I'll be doing the extra inning post-game show on Saturday and Sunday. I sat down with Marty Barrett today. Marty Barrett's in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. The scrappy second baseman was the most valuable player in the American League Championship Series in 1986. He played with some great players, Wade Boggs, Jim Rice, Dwight Evans, Roger Clemens. Had a nice sit-down with Marty Barrett, and you'll hear that this weekend. I want to thank my producer, Ralph, for doing the show today, Dave Tobner from SF Gate, and Tim Flannery. Maybe check out a couple of his concerts up here at timflannery.com for tickets, and you can see a lot of the things that Tim's doing up here on a 4-city tour. For Bill Laskey, have a great rest of the night. Really enjoyed the calls tonight. Really enjoyed doing Sports Phone with you. Coming up next, Larry Krueger on Niners Nightly. Have a great night. I'll talk to you this weekend on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
It's time to bring the 49ers to the forefront.
It's go time. This is the best team that they can put on the field this year.
Welcome to Niners Nightly.
You guys are going to hear it. The latest from the locker room, the latest from the podium, the latest scuttle from the players.
On your proud home of 49ers football. Touchdown! KNBR, the sports leader. Your faithful fix with your host, Larry Krueger, begins.
We'll take phone calls. We'll talk Niners for a full hour. Fired up. Really excited.
Now.
And away we go. Welcome, Larry Krueger, back with you on Niners Nightly. And normally we come to you at 6 o'clock, but the Giants on the East Coast. Tugboat Wilkinson was out there doing his thing tonight in Cleveland against his former squad, the Tribe, now the Guardians, if you will. So we're coming on. So, we want to talk a little Niner ball on the night before preseason game number 2. I was in Los Angeles, El Segundo to be exact, Tuesday for the joint practice between the Niners and the Chargers. And we're going to get to see Niners-Chargers tomorrow night from SoFi, preseason game number 2. And we got a great hour for you. Brian Peacock, who's I don't want to say the better half because I'm a big Crocker fan, but he is definitely half of Locked On 49ers on the Locked On David Locke Network. And Peacock's really good. We always love chopping it up, talking ball, and we don't always agree. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. He's going to stop by later on this hour, and we'll talk about all the major topics in 49er land, like what's going on at left guard. It's funny. Matt Barrows wrote today that he thinks the job is still Connor Colby's to lose. And yet, I've got some sources that have told me that Chris Foerster is not a big fan of Connor Colby. So I don't know that that's come out officially, but my source, who's a very good source, says that, Foerster is not a big Colby guy. So maybe that means Robert Jones. Maybe that means Carver Willis. It was the rookie Willis taking first-team snaps in El Segundo on Tuesday. Who are they going to go with? Will they try to bring in somebody from outside the organization? Daniel Brunskill. Will they bring in John Feliciano? Will they bring in Alex Boone? Heck, I saw Jesse Sapolu at practice the other day. Maybe they'll go for Jesse. I don't know. We're just joking. They're not going to Jesse. But the right guard or the left guard situation is interesting, and it complicated this week because you've got Dom Pooney having the concussion. So with Colby and Jones and Willis may get a lot of run at the 2 guard spots tomorrow night. So that is something to look for. Who does the best between Colby, Big Rob Jones, and Carver Willis? I would say that the Niners are probably rooting for Carver Willis. Barrows is of the belief that Colby's been the guy all along. I've got other friends who really believe that Robert Jones is the best candidate. Foerster told us that if it was all based on run blocking exclusively, that it would probably be Robert Jones who gets the nod because he's the best run blocker of the bunch. I kind of like what I see from Colby in his movements, but if Foerster's not a fan, obviously something happened this summer. He was cruising with the first team, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. So he obviously did something. And when I asked Foerster about it, he was kind of nondescript about it. Well, we're taking a look at a bunch of guys in different spots, and so on and so forth. He didn't really say, hey, we're unhappy in any way with Connor Colby, but he just said, hey, there's some things that he needs to work on. So my guess is they would love Carver Willis to win that job. He was a 4th-round pick. And, 4th-round picks, believe it or not, sometimes do come in and play and sometimes start. So maybe Carver Willis could do that job. He's a left tackle. He's a great athlete, and he's trying to transition to left guard. It's, there's a lot of people, that I've met through the years in and around the NFL who will say, oh, yeah, man, if you could play left tackle, you could play left guard. There's nothing further from the truth. Yes, left tackle is probably the best. They don't pay the left tackles the most for no reason. You're covering the quarterback's blind side. You're usually dealing with a very dangerous pass rusher on the other end. But left guard is a totally different world. Guard is a totally different world than tackle. and you need different skill sets, and things happen quickly inside. And once again, it's a technique-rich position, and it's a lot between the ears. So what can you digest, and who can you handle the big boys inside, who are really, really close to your quarterback. So that's a big one. Who gets the left guard job? And it may be determined by what we see tomorrow night. How much are we going to see Dejon Stribling? Stribling's ball skills really stood out to me in El Segundo. I mean, this guy's making catches that rookies rarely make in a crowd, in a sea of hands, catching through contact in the middle of the field, outside of his frame. He's got a big catch radius. He's got huge hands, and he plucks the ball, and he does it effortlessly, and he does it in traffic against veteran corners and DBs, and he takes hits and holds on. So Dejon Stribling's ball skills look really pure, and he looks like he's going to have a great year. The other great thing from the week is that Kalon Black is looking spectacular. And, it's like, what did the Niners really need out of this draft? They need great players. They've got good players. They've got guys who can fill out the roster. They need their next Kittle, their next Bosa, their next CMC, their next Fred, their next Greenlaw, their next Trent. The best players on this roster are 30 plus. They need a handful of the best players on the roster to be 23, 24. And I think that could start happening this year, because I really think Kalon Black and Dejon Stribling are not going to be good players. They're going to be great players. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think they're really more than just, contributors. I think these are guys that are going to – they're not riding the bus. They're driving the bus. I don't think we're going to see Curtis Rourke, but, man, he looked good last week against the Titans. I would imagine we'll see Mac Jones. We're going to see some Brock Purdy, and we may see some Adrian Martinez. But I don't think we're going to see Curtis Rourke. One thing I'm really eager to see, and we're not going to see it in this game, but I'm eager to see how Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniels, how, their concepts blend. Harbaugh is the 2026 version of Bo Schembechler, 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Mike McDaniels, on the other hand, is innovative. He runs Kyle's system. He does lots of different things. These guys want to do the same thing, run the heck out of it, but they do it differently. And it's going to be interesting to see how those two offensive coaches that both love to run the ball, how do their concepts blend? And what is the Chargers offense looking like? So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. Raheem Morris's defense, the development of their defensive line. I thought the biggest subplot to Tuesday's joint practice was the fact that there was no McKell, no Bosa, and so there was no edge setting in the run game, and there was no pressure from the outside on Herbert. The Niners have added Osa Odigizua and Grayson Halton inside, and those guys are going to give them a lot of pass rush. You can tell. But they don't have any outside pass rush. The Niners gave Titus Leo, he was getting first quarter reps at defensive end. They waived him this week. So he went from first quarter reps at defensive end to waived in 1 week. And if you look at their roster, they got all kinds of guys that are just kind of guys that they just picked up. Like, hey, what are you doing? You got some free time? You're near Santa Clara? Stop on by. Yeah, that's what it feels like. You look at this depth chart at defensive end, it looks good on paper, right? Mikael Williams, Nick Bosa, Keon White, Sam O. You drafted Romello Height. But there is no Bosa, and there is no Mikael. And Keon White's coming off of being shot in the ankle. So then what do you really got? It's like you got Sam O. You got Romello Height, who's got some really, really exciting moves, but he's 238 pounds. He's very light. And then you just got dudes. Quentin Bell signed from Miami. Victor Dimukeje signed off the street. Ogbo Okoronkwo signed off the street. Xavier Thomas signed off the street. These are just guys. Okoronkwo looks pretty good, but the rest of these guys are totally replaceable. The Niners had 20 sacks last year. Are they going to do that again? Because guess what? Their average age on defense is really young. They're 26 on defense. Most of the experience comes on offense. It's in a very experienced offense. Shanahan's system works. Purdy's a very, very good young quarterback. They're going to score 28 to 35 a game on offense. But how good is the D? Is it going to be good enough? Do they have a pass rush? Can they stop the run? Can Greenlaw stay healthy? Can Warner stay healthy? How good is the young secondary? We haven't seen Malik Mustafa at all this summer. Is Renardo Green improved? Is Jair Brown improved? Is Marquise Siegel improved? These guys struggled at times last year. So they got to have a pass rush. And right now, they don't have one. I mean, on paper, it looks okay. We got to see it, though. We got to see them come up with a consistent pass rush. All right, let's do this. Let's take a timeout. Let's come back. Brian Peacock's awesome, and we'll break down a number of these topics with Peacock. And then if we have time, we'll definitely jump in and take some of your phone calls. 808 KNBR is the number. Larry Krueger with you. It's Niners Nightly Late Night on the Sports Leader.
This is where you get your faithful fix. Niners Nightly with Larry Krueger keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back. It's Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you as we talk a little Niner football in advance of preseason game number 2, which is tomorrow night. And it should be a good one at SoFi in Southern California. The Niners and the Chargers, they had a joint practice down in El Segundo on Tuesday. I was there for it. And the calm before the storm, 49ers and Chargers go Thursday night. And with us to talk about it, Brian Peacock, half of Locked On 49ers, and you hear him on KNBR all the time. He's back with us. Peacock, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. Getting pumped for another preseason game here. I think it's a good test with the Chargers. Get to see some old pals in Harbaugh and McDaniel on the other sideline there, and a good test with the quarterback that can sling it. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit of Justin Herbert in this one.
Yeah, Niner news for the day. Junior Bergen, for those of you who were hoping that he'd come back, he is signed with the New York Jets, so he's officially a Jet. But, Brian, what would you say? What's your biggest concern heading into preseason game number 2?
I think it's all trenches, man. And, as they say, it all starts up front, Larry. And you're talking about a starting position right now, maybe the only one truly up for grabs for the 49ers in this game is left guard. So what's that going to look like? And I think it's really important for the 49ers running the ball, for the 49ers to keep Brock Purdy healthy and upright, as he may have an opportunity to hold the ball a little bit longer in the pocket if the 49ers, as it sounds like, might try to push the ball a little bit more this year. And I think it could turn out to be an awesome year for Brock Purdy in that case. But the offensive line has to be up to that challenge. And left guard, you don't want it to be a problem. And not only do you need to figure out who your starter is there, you would like for someone to just take that job and say, oh, this is my job. And there's no other way about it, because this player looks good and owns the job and outplays everybody else for it. And right now we haven't seen that at left guard for the 49ers. And look, they didn't have I thought it was something they needed to get better at. And you certainly don't want the 49ers to be getting worse based on how we saw them do battle up front against, say, the Seattle Seahawks last year.
Who do you like? I mean, there's Robert Jones, the veteran, coming off a neck injury. As I said, he's the vet. Then you got Connor Colby. I just kind of wonder, is Chris Foerster a big fan of Connor Colby? And then you got Carver Willis, who's a rookie, who's a left tackle at UW and is trying to transition from left tackle to left guard. And that sounds like, oh, yeah, anybody can do it until it's time to do it. And then he finds out it's actually pretty damn hard. So what do you think? I mean, Willis was running with the ones Tuesday in El Segundo. Is he the leader for that job? Do you think the veteran Robert Jones gets it? Or Matt Barrows has tweeted as recently as this morning that he thinks it's still going to Connor Colby.
Man, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a two-man race now, and that Connor Colby has already lost it. And if Dominic Pooney, because of the concussion, isn't playing, it feels like we're going to see Connor Colby playing right guard, and then it's going to be between Robert Jones and Carver Willis for the left guard spot. So I don't know. Maybe I see it a little bit differently than Matt Barrows, and I'm not one to go against what the great Matt Barrows has to say on the San Francisco 49ers, but I feel like it's down to Carver Willis and Robert Jones right now. And by default, it might be the veteran, just because you trust him to be where he needs to be and know the NFL game a little bit better, and has played in a similar offense and is maybe more familiar with the scheme. And so I don't know. Again, right now, I don't think I have a favorite, because I haven't seen anybody play well enough to be like, this is the guy right there. And for Carver Willis, I think it's pass protection, which I want to see a little bit better this week than his debut last week against the Titans.
My big concern is the pass rush. I mean, the first preseason game against the Titans, it's the first quarter, and I'm watching Titus Leo play defensive end. Now, I granted they sat some guys down, but Titus Leo's already been waived, and he was playing in the first quarter. I mean, it's bad if you're playing Titus Leo in the fourth quarter, but they're just picking guys off the street. I mean, if we called up their depth chart right now, I mean, it's filled with guys that weren't around in May. I mean, you got Mikael Williams still hurt. Bosa is not practicing. So what do you got left? You got Keon White coming off of being shot in the ankle. You got Sam Aquinu. And then you got Romello Height, but he's pretty light. And then you've got Quentin Bell, just signed him. Victor Dimukeje, he actually more recently signed. Then you got Agbo Okoronkwo, who I actually think looks pretty good. And then you got Xavier Thomas. But I mean, you got 5 guys there that nobody's seen.
I'm with you, Larry. And I think the interior and the edge group, both you need some answers for. And I've been talking about how they needed to add somebody who was a veteran that is someone who could give you meaningful snaps this year. And there's still some players available. You know, we've seen guys like Clowney and Von Miller get snatched up already. You know, Joey Bosa is still out there. Kyle Van Noy could play a little bit of the role that we've seen Romello Height in. And I think that would be a nice fit for the 49ers. It does feel like they need to add another body because even when Mykel Williams is back, I think he's going to be a really good run defender and edge setter in this league, but he hasn't had an offseason to add more to his pass rush repertoire anyway. So I don't know how much growth you would expect there as a pass rusher from Mykel Williams. Maybe it gives you a little bit on the interior as well, but I'm looking for Romello Height in this game to show that he's at least going to be a nightmare on third downs, that he can bring heat on opposing quarterbacks. I mean, you're talking about Nick Bosa, who's already hurt, Mykel Williams, who's probably not going to be back for week 1. And it just feels really light at the edge position at the pass rush spots along the line because guys like second-year defensive tackle Alfred Collins is being outplayed by undrafted rookies from the last 2 drafts. And so really just need some answers up front on both sides of the football, left guard, defensive tackle, edge. And I think potentially, you know, obviously Villa now signed his deal, so he's not going to be coming, but they've got to add somebody. And it doesn't have to be a superstar player, but I feel like they need to find some answers on the defensive side of the ball. And I think you're okay with what you feel like the starters are going to be there with Osa Odighizuwa, and I think CJ West is the best answer for more of the space eating defensive tackle variety. Nick Bosa, who should be back and ready to go, and then you can kind of, you know, with Keon White and Okwuonu and some other guys, you know, and obviously Romello Height, I think you can get by until Mykel Williams is back. But you know, Alfred Collins, James Thompson Jr., Bryson Eason, you know, Sebastian Valdez. I think that's a battle for maybe 1 roster spot between the 4 of those guys, maybe 2 roster spots at most between the 4 of those guys. And right now, the second round pick, the top 50 pick from last year, I think has been outplayed by all of them.
When you see the 49ers re-sign Evan Anderson, and they're already really deep at defensive tackle, kind of makes me think that an Alfred Collins trade could be coming. Just from the standpoint of why would you do that? You know, why would you do that? You already have a lot of bodies there. Now, I know Halton has got an injury, and, you know, so maybe it's injury related. But Odighizuwa looks amazing. There's no question. I mean, he looks dominating. Then there's CJ West, and I think Bryson Eason and James Thompson have outplayed, and Grayson Halton have all outplayed Alfred Collins. Just watching the Tennessee, you know, team practice for that one day, man, could you get them interested in something? The Niners have too many defensive tackles and not enough good defensive ends. And I really think that if they go with their best, they're going to be going with Halton and Eason and Thompson over Collins. Could you get the Titans and Robert Saleh to trade you Olufemi Oladejo? Because Olufemi Oladejo is exactly the kind of piece that the 49ers need. They need that walk-up linebacker who's really, really intriguing and can play defensive end in their 5-man front. Oladejo's made for it. And, you know, I mean, sure, Robert Saleh was here when Alfred Collins was here. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But Alfred Collins, to me, you're going to cut James Thompson. He looks fantastic. You're going to cut Bryson Eason.
You're not going to get James Thompson Jr. back if you waive him. You might get Valdez or Eason, you know, Evan Anderson, those guys. You might get one of them back or 2 of them back. But James Thompson Jr., I think he was too in demand as an undrafted free agent already. And some of these guys are putting up pretty good tape. And they're not putting up tape just for the 49ers roster. They're putting up tape for everybody else in the league. And some of these guys aren't going to pass through waivers. And by the way, you could probably add Nick Martin to that at linebacker, maybe Martin and Collins are more Salah's guys and Salah's types. Maybe you package both of them and send them to Salah and the Tennessee Titans. It's something that Eric Crocker and I talked about on the latest Locked On 49ers that dropped this evening.
For what? What did you guys have coming back?
I mean, I don't know. At this point, I don't think there's a lot you would get back. You would certainly not get back a top 50 and top 75 pick that you spent on them last year. And, does that roster politics enough, just being that you drafted them high, does that earn them roster spots over Duggar or Larry Worth or, as we talked about, James Thompson and Bryson Eason and Sebastian Valdez? A lot of times it does. Will that be the deciding factor for the 49ers? Because I've been really impressed by Larry Worth as well. And, man, it's going to be tough for him. He's got Wallow, he's got Gifford, he's got Duggar, he's got Martin. But Tatum Bethune's not going anywhere. So it's going to be really tough to make the team for some of these undrafted guys, even though they've played well enough to be on the final 53.
I don't get the, why Nick Martin is not more highly coveted. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to Greg Cosell earlier today, and he's like, man, I love Nick Martin, the way he comes flying and hits with force, and he's so athletic, and he can build up so much speed, and he can translate some of that speed to power. He's got some ability as a blitzing linebacker. I mean, he's just he comes firing up at a different speed than I see all these other guys moving at. So I don't get the discontent there. If I were the Niners, I'd go with 6 linebackers. I'd go Warner, Greenlaw, Bethune, Martin, Duggar, and Worth, and I would cut Gifford and Wallow. You can find special teams linebackers on the street. You can find special teams, guys who can play the special teams linebacker role. But those I would want to retain my inventory of young linebackers. I mean, Warner older, Greenlaw older, injury prone. You very easily could be 3 weeks in, and those guys could be missing time. And then what do you got? You're going to cut Larry Worth. You're going to cut, Jaden Duggar. You're going to cut Nick Martin, Tatum Bethune. You're going to wind up cutting those guys on the 30th and then searching for them in week 2 or week 3. So I'd rather, tell Brant Boyer, you know what, you're going to have to make do without Gifford. I know he's a Pro Bowl special teamer, but
I would think that guys like Duggar and Martin and Larry Worth too are built for special teams.
Sure.
You can't get good special teams reps out of those guys. It would seem that would be something that they could flourish at, and it's something they're going to have to show us in this preseason game. And it's big. You can't forget about special teams at all. As for Martin, I will say that when he triggers and he goes, he flat out flies to the football. Yeah, but he misses amazing. Many tackles when he gets there. And I think there's sometimes maybe he's not triggering at the right time. And there's just something that's missing there. And maybe he just needs more reps. But
I agree with you on that too. There is something missing there.
Yeah. And so
he's too athletic, too fast, too explosive. There must be some inconsistency there.
Yeah, it's the same with Collins too, because at this point he's just big. Because I don't think he's a really twitchy guy, but if you're going to be, as big as he is, and you're not going to be a twitchy pass rush type, then you have to be able to handle your gaps, and he's just getting pushed off of there too much. And so it's like, well, then what are, what's your
calling card?
What's your path to playing time? And like, why do you have a uniform on Sundays? What are you giving the 49ers if you are getting blown out against double teams and opening up the gate in the run game, and you can't get after the quarterback?
Yeah. If you're Alfred Collins and you can't play the run, it's the old, Office Space. What would you say you do here?
Right.
Exactly. What would you say you do here? What about the safeties? Mustafa hasn't played at all. And then you got Jair Brown, who just got roasted and toasted. How concerned are you that the Chargers offense just dominated? It seemed like they missed McKell, they missed Bosa, but also the speed of Brennan Thompson and the speed of those Charger receivers and Herbert's arm. He just absolutely picked apart the Jair Browns and the entire Niners secondary. Just Prysock got burned. They just got overwhelmed, and they had no rush up front.
It's going to be a test. With someone with the arm of Justin Herbert. And I know some of those reps that the 49ers pass rush might have gotten to Herbert before he was able to unleash some of those deep balls over the top of the 49ers secondary. And it's kind of the opposite problem with the 49ers in the secondary versus what we're talking about with some of the guys up front, because I think we know, and kind of by default, because Malik Mustafa hasn't really had an opportunity to compete for his starting job. And I was a little bit surprised that he wasn't just the straight up number 1 safety at the start of camp. And so, and then injury on top of it, I think we know it's going to be Brown and it's going to be Siegel back there. We know who the the top 3 corners are going to be, and we kind of know what the depth is looking like there. So I don't think it's as much of a competition for the depth chart as it is just making sure that the guys who are out there and that we know are going to be starters look good and can and handle their business on the back end, especially against speed and a quarterback with a big arm. So it's going to be a big test for a preseason game. I think there's a lot of questions to be answered out there, Larry.
Brian Peacock with us on Niners Nightly as we chop it up and talk a little Niners in advance of preseason game number 2. You know, one of the things that, you know, I remember when I would be sitting in the Canadian League with the defensive staff, and we're going through, you know, who we were going to take on the roster, who we were going to make active. You know, one of our coaches used to say, you know, let me tell you, boy, the secret to pass coverage is pass coverage. In other words, we can't coach it. You got to have guys that can mirror athletic receivers up and down the field. It's a really difficult thing to do. And if you run out of dudes, you run out of dudes. And if you have legit corners, you got to retain that depth and retain that inventory. I kind of agree with that. And that's kind of where I am with the corners. It's a deep group, but when you run out of corners and then you got to look for guys off the street, it never works out. So they have, I think right now they have Renardo Green, Demo Lenore, Upton Stout. Okay, those are their top 3 corners. Then you got Jack Jones, who's gotten his hands on a ton of footballs this summer. You got Ephesians Prysock, who doesn't have good long speed, and it was exposed against the Chargers, but he is really good in the red zone, really good in the goal line, and he's physical. He's a little bit of a concern down the field, but he's still big and fast and intriguing. Hobbs is hurt, so then you got Jacob Robinson as well, and you got Darrell Luter, and you got Eli Apple. And I would only cut Apple, and I would go with the rest of them. I mean, you got the 3 top guys, and then Jones, Prysock, Luter, and Robinson. I'd go with 7 corners. I know that might be 1 or 2 more than people want to go with, but you know what? Robinson's really good. I really like Jacob Robinson. He's coming into his own. He's making plays against the run. He's athletic as heck. He's got 4.3 speed. Luter, I think, looks better this year than I've ever seen him look. I'm keeping the extra corners, and I'm going to find extra room by going a man short, maybe a quarterback or a running back, or you know, I'll go short in another area to keep that extra corner. What do you think?
Well, I will fight you to keep Curtis Rourke, Larry, because that's been my guy for a long time. One of my best pre-draft.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
So you got to keep 3 QBs. He's your future backup as of now. But man, I don't know, because if you're keeping 6 linebackers and now you're keeping an extra corner, and you might need to keep 10 offensive linemen, and the numbers crunch just doesn't add up here. So there's gonna have to
it really doesn't. I mean, I don't think Enrique Cruz can make the team, by the way, because of that.
I feel the same way. Again, you have to be able to play. Are the 49ers in a place depth wise where they could just carry a guy who's never going to have a uniform all year? Because that's what Enrique Cruz looks like he would be as a long-term project right now. I just don't think they can. But can Jack Jones win the punt return job?
He looked great catching punts the other day at practice. Great.
That's a big one, I think, in this game, too, with Jacob Cowing and the punt return job. And they've given I don't know if he's particularly good at it, but they've given Jordan Watkins looks at punt returner as well. I think they're trying to give themselves reason to not carry as many wide receivers so they can maybe keep some extra guys in other places. And that would allow them to cut an extra wide receiver, that they don't have to keep a guy just for punt return duties. If, say, Watkins and Jack Jones can handle it, then you don't have to keep Cowing. And so this is a huge game for Jacob Cowing to prove he's an NFL player.
No question about it. I don't think I would trust Jacob Cowing. I'm going with Evans, Debo, Stribling, Watkins, Demarcus Robinson. And I would like one more receiver. Kirk has got the best football card, but he's been hurt. They probably put him on a list. Pauling has has definitely impressed them. Trenton Irwin has been very productive this camp. Malik Turner and Kadero Hodge are probably your best special teams options. I love Wesley Grimes. Wesley Grimes to me looks like a real player. I mean, I think if you cut Wesley Grimes, that's a mistake. He's big, he's fast, he catches the ball. This guy just doesn't get a lot of reps. He's running with the 3s and 4s, a deep wide receiver core, all kinds of guys here. I think if they would just throw him the ball, I mean, there's still 2 preseason games to go, but I'm on record. I'm a big Wesley Grimes guy, and I'm pretty confident he's going to do something big in these next 2 games.
Well, if you're looking at trades, two former 49ers defensive coordinators. What about flipping Christian Kirk back to the Houston Texans, who got bad news about Higgins, who's going to be out for, looks like, the year now? And they might be a little bit light at wide receiver, because I think one of the big developments with Dejon Stribling looking like he can be a big time player and, play a number of snaps early in his career. With Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel, you have the veteran DeMarcus Robinson, Jordan Watkins. Maybe you only break camp with 5 wide receivers, and you get one of the undrafted guys, Pauling or Grimes, back on the practice squad. Maybe Jacob Cowing even clears waivers. Malik Turner, you're right, has looked really good too. He's useful on offense. He can play special teams. So again, almost every one of these positions we're talking about, there's a numbers crunch there, and they got to go light somewhere. I wonder if wide receiver could end up being that spot.
That is an interesting idea, because you're right. I mean, the Texans, Jaden Higgins today, done for the year. Tank Dell's hurt. Jalen Noel has been hurt. I mean, they've had injuries there. So, I mean, and they don't, I mean, what do you got? You got Nico Collins, but I mean, it's not a very loaded deal there. And sending Kirk back there, he was good in the playoffs. His last game, his last game last year in the playoffs, he had 115 yards or something like that against the Steelers. So, that's an interesting one, because he has not played at all, and there's so many other options. It seems like he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. I can't see, even though he's got a lot of NFL experience, it's hard to see him making the team.
Yeah, he might be one of the shockers that you thought was completely locked in all spring, and all of a sudden he's got this quad, and we still haven't seen him in camp or preseason games. And there's enough talent with the addition of Deebo Samuel and Dejon Stribling and the veteran DeMarcus Robinson. Maybe you don't feel like you have the need for Christian Kirk now. It'll give you an opportunity to carry another player who might see more playing time.
Okay, since we're throwing out trades, here's one that I think makes sense. And you're not going to like it because you love Rourke. But you got Mac Jones and you got Brock Purdy, and Rourke looks pretty good. I got to admit, I expected him to look good. Why? Because he's been in the offense for 2 years, and he's not a rookie. He's had 12 months to learn the position, where most guys have like 2 months. So it's like auditing a class, for the second time. It's like if you're not acing the class the second time through, what are we doing here, right? So I expected him to look really good, and he has looked really good. I'm just not convinced that he's special. I would offer him to the Colts. The Colts have Michael Clemens, who's an extra defensive end. The Niners need Michael Clemens. I like Deion Burks, the receiver they have, that's probably on the border of making it. And I'm a big Riley Leonard fan. To me, Curtis Rourke, you might be able to send him to the Colts and get all 3 of those guys. And now you've got, more of a backup quarterback. They're probably getting the better quarterback. But you're getting a defensive end, and you're getting a better, speedy receiver. And I'd even throw in Jacob Cowing, to make it fly, because I like Burks more than I like Cowing. What do you think of that trade? Well, first of all, tell me what you think of Rourke.
I just think Rourke was such a great fit for Kyle Shanahan and his offense, and I think he's less like Brock Purdy. The comp for me for him was going back to a guy that Kyle Shanahan drafted in 2012 and Kirk Cousins. That's kind of what I saw with him. He's really good, really heady player. He's accurate. He throws with some anticipation. I mean, he had 2 incompletions in his first ever NFL action, and those 2 throws found the hands of wide receivers. They were good throws in tough spots. So I was just really impressed by him. The poise looked like he belonged, and what you're able to do roster wise to not have an expensive backup quarterback long term. It doesn't help you as much this year, but I think keeping him around, if he proves to the 49ers and at the point of, after 3 preseason games, if they think, this guy could be a number 2 quarterback to Brock Purdy and someone who's very cost controlled for the next few years while you're paying your star quarterback a lot of money, I think it makes too much sense, and he's too valuable to trade away unless you got something big for him. And to be honest with you, maybe Mac Jones is the one you dangle instead, but I'd be shocked if Curtis Rourke isn't on the roster.
It's weird. I mean, I hear you, because he was so good in that first game, but then it's really hard to picture them going with 3 quarterbacks in the same year that they added 5 offensive linemen, 3 free agents, and 2 draft choices. They got a lot of young receivers. I mean, are you just going to cut them loose? You got a lot of, they always go with a lot of defensive linemen. And if you don't go with a lot of defensive linemen, that means you're cutting somebody pretty good, right?
I would put it this way: which would you end up regretting more? Not keeping Curtis Rourke around, who could be your backup quarterback for the next 4 years or 3 years after this one, or on a rookie contract, or Drake Nugent or Enrique Cruz, or one of these offensive linemen that would be like 9 or 10 on the list. To me, it's really easy. And if you have to cut an extra guy somewhere else, then you do it. And I do think the 49ers can get creative with some of these injuries and guys ending up on lists, or some veteran players that get cut and then get brought right back, right after week one. And that would mean that some of these vested veterans don't get their contracts aren't guaranteed. So teams like to do that anyway. And you can kind of, do a little wink, wink deal because, they don't have to go through waivers if they're a vested veteran too. And so the 49ers, I think, might have some ways to bring guys back and put guys on some lists and figure this out a little bit easier than it looks immediately. But Curtis Rourke, for me, it's a no-go. He's on. He made 100%. You can't let Curtis Rourke go unless he falls on his face. And in preseason game number 3, I don't think he's going to play this week with the rib injury.
I hear you. How many O linemen you want to go with?
I would go with 9.
See, I think I might go with 8. I think I would go with Trent, Robert Jones, Brendel, Pooney, McKivitz, those 5, and then I'd go with Carver Willis, probably Drake Nugent, and Vidarian Lowe.
The tough thing is Lowe going to be healthy because you need a backup tackle, and Cruz can't give you that. So you might have to either, and who knows, maybe we'll see a few snaps of Carver Willis at left tackle just to be like, hey, we need an emergency tackle, and someone has to be able to do it. So Carver Willis, can you do that? And that will give us an extra spot. Otherwise, you might have to break camp with another guy who can be your swing tackle to start if Lowe is not healthy, which would basically have to be Austin Pleasants.
Yeah. How many running backs you want to go with? I think I'd probably go 4: McCaffrey, Jordan James, Kalen Black, and Juszczyk. And I think I'd cut the rest of the guys.
Yeah, cut the rest of them, and you could bring a guy back, and you could have guys on the practice squad. Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer there. Isaac Guerrero, I think he's pretty done as a 49er, it feels like. Yeah, I think the shockers for me would be guys that were drafted fairly high, like Alfred Collins, or recent draft picks, even not even drafted high, like Connor Colby. Is if he's the 4th guard all of a sudden, is his roster spot solidified? I don't know. Brett Toth, they would probably rather keep because he can play center.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways they can go. I think Toth might retire. I mean, to me, he's looked horrible this summer.
Really?
I kind of like Kramer, the guy they picked up who played at Illinois once upon a time. I kind of like him. Looks a little bit more healthy, a little bit more stout. But yeah, I mean, the backup. I mean, do you go with 3 backup O linemen, 4, 5? I mean, there's I've seen some projections where the Niners have 10 offensive linemen.
Yeah,
and since only 5 play, that would be a waste of roster spots.
Yeah, I don't think they have the ability to carry 10 offensive linemen this year with all the other numbers we're talking about, and defensive tackle too, because once Michael Williams comes back, he can play some reps at defensive tackle, and so I think they're going to get some guys claimed off of waivers at the defensive tackle spot, maybe multiple guys.
God, I hope they don't lose their inventory there because those guys can really play. Last one, Kittle. He's adamant that he's not going on the PUP, but I'd be adamant that he is. I know Tonjes has played well. Farrell's had a good camp. The rest of those guys, I'm not a fan. Willis, Rucci, DeGuara, none of those guys really look like much to me. But it's a long year. Kittle came out the other day and said he's got a chance to be ready for week 1. And then he's like, hey, it's a long year. It's 18 weeks. If I'm not ready to work there week 1, so be it. I'd go with Tonjes and Farrell and Juszczyk and bring Kittle back like week 5, week 6, somewhere in there. I'd respect the age and the position and the violence of the game. And he looks good, but he doesn't look that good. I would say week 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's tough because you have to say goodbye to him for 4 weeks. And are the 49ers willing to do that? Now, week 1 does get pretty difficult because essentially he has to be ready to go by September 1st, because if you don't think he's going to play, he's not going to get on the flight to go to Australia. So that's not a lot of time for him to be ready and be cleared. Would they take him to Australia if he hasn't been cleared yet and hope he has his first practices leading up to that? That wouldn't seem like the right way to go about it. And And if he's not ready for week 1, then do you just let him rest up for 3 more weeks before you bring him back off the PUP list for week 5? He said he's not going to go on the PUP list, but we'll see. And I don't think the 49ers are going to operate in a way where they think Kittle could be back in week 2 or 3 and put him on the PUP list either. So I think he ends up being on the 53, doesn't go on the PUP list, but I wouldn't say that I think it's likely that he plays week 1 either. So week 2 maybe for Kittle is what we're talking about.
Well, I would just play it conservative. I mean, he's a tight end. His cleats are rooted on every play. He's going to try to get out there, and we know how tough the guy is. I'd protect him from him a little bit since he means a lot to the team. And it is a long year, and you don't have a lot of great depth at tight end, and maybe it would be best to just be conservative since he is, in his 30s. At the practice the other day, Jesse Sapolu in the house. Jason Verrett was in the house, the ex-Niner. Said hi to both those guys. Mike Shanahan was in the house. And then standing there in the house, who I had a chance to talk to for at least 10 minutes, the great Kevin Burkhardt, who him and Tom Brady, I think, are really good. To me, those guys, Burkhardt and Brady, that's my favorite football broadcasting team right now. I think Brady's gotten so good. His timing of like what he tells you, like this is a huge series right here, the momentum. He has a great sense for the game flow. And I think some of his comments, especially when there's money on the table, playoff, Super Bowl, and it's big moments, I just love the way Tom Brady thinks the game. And I really think he wasn't very good at the beginning, like really stiff, but I think Burkhardt and Brady are the best. Who do you like right now? If you can watch a football game, have any team out there, who do you want?
Well, I do see why Burkhardt and Brady would be elevated to the place where they're at, and I do like Burkhardt as well. To be honest with you, I don't have favorites as much as far as broadcast teams doing football games because I'm looking at the game in such a way that I'm not even paying attention to what they're saying that much. Anyway, I feel like the broadcast teams make much bigger difference in baseball games for whatever reason. I romanticize it a little bit more. Like who's calling the game? How's the flow of the game go? With football, I'm so locked into what I'm watching and I'm looking for certain things that I'm not really paying that much attention to it. And it's like pretty much anything. I don't know. It's just the way I'm wired, Larry, but anything that's extra that's not part of the game, I'm just not into and don't care about it and don't pay attention to it. Like I don't like if you come to my Super Bowl party and you shush people during the commercials, you have to leave. We're not watching this game, the biggest game of the year, because of the commercials. I don't care about the halftime show. Like if you care about the halftime show, that means you probably don't care about music or football. I don't care about the pregame show. In fact, the pregame shows are pretty much awful across the board on the big networks. I just care about the ball, Larry.
I hear you. And that's the way it should be. All ball, all the time. Brian Peacock, and you can catch him breaking down the Niners with Locked On Niners. Him and Eric Crocker do a fantastic job. Brian, thanks for jumping on KNBR, man. Always great to rap with you.
Always fun. Anytime, Larry.
Brian Peacock, there's more straight ahead. It's Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader.
Sound right, boy. It sound right, boy.
Dribbling out to the right. Work looking right and looking downfield for Stribling. Turns it just and brings it in on the right sideline. What a catch.
That is a catch.
All the way to the 31-yard line of Tennessee. That was pretty.
That was a nice ball and a nice catch on the end of there. I mean, it's perfect touch on that.
Faithful, time to make some Niners noise on Niners Nightly with Larry Krueger on your proud home of 49ers football. KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, the familiar voice of Robert Fitzgerald, my good friend who I've known for a long time. He's been a great Warrior announcer for years, doing some Niners preseason. And you heard Dennis Brown, I believe Keena Turner there as well, part of the KNBR broadcast family for 49er football in the preseason. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. Thanks to Raph for producing tonight. Thanks to Brian Peacock. I want to go through the roster as it stands going into this the second preseason game and how I think this thing is going to shake out. We'll start on offense. You know, the big question for the 49ers on offense is, do you keep three quarterbacks or do you keep two? And, you know, if you keep three, it's going to be Brock Purdy and it's going to be Mac Jones and it's going to be Curtis Rourke, right? So do they keep Rourke, who looked so good against Tennessee, or do they trade Mac Jones and make Rourke number two, or do they trade Rourke? And we'll see if there's any market for Rourke. We'll see if there's any market for Jones. I can't see them moving off of Jones. You know, he really saved their bacon last year. So I think Purdy and Jones are here for this year. And the question is, do they look at Rourke and say, you know what, let's turn him into something? Because there's probably somebody out there that would give you something for him, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the same people that don't want to pay anything for Mac Jones also believe that Kyle Shanahan is the key to Curtis Rourke's success. And maybe there's no real appreciable trade market out there for Rourke. So I think that's one thing. Based on the roster, I would say a trade of Rourke makes a lot of sense, because I think you're going to need to go deeper at some of these other positions, and you're probably going to need to go with two quarterbacks, not three. So we'll see how that shakes out. At running back, I think they're going to go with four. I think they're going to go with Christian McCaffrey, Kalen Black, Jordan James, and Kyle Juszczyk. And I think the rest of the guys, Garendo might be on an injured list, but you got Patrick Taylor, you got Sincere McCormick, you got Zamir White. They're pretty talented guys. I really like McCormick. Taylor would probably be the guy who would get that special teams job if they went with a fifth running back. But I think, once again, because of their depth in other spots on the roster, they're going to go a little thinner at running back. McCaffrey, Black, James, and Juice. That's kind of how I see that running back room. So let's move to tight end. Now, this is a big question. George Kittle says, I am not starting the year on the PUP. Really? I think he may. If he's not, then they'll go man down in week 1. But Tonjes will make the team. Luke Farrell's having a very much of a bounce back camp. So I think it's a 2 tight end deal with, Kittle either on the pup list for the first month or possibly possibly on their active roster, and they won't put him on the pup. He doesn't want to be on the pup. I don't think Willis or Hayden Rucci or DeGuara, I don't think those guys are going to make it. The interesting thing at tight end is going to be the rest of the league. There's a lot of talk that Dawson Knox may get cut by Buffalo. Cole Kmet may get cut by the Bears. TJ Hawkinson may get cut. There's some bigger name guys out there. Also, Zach Ertz is still out there. The pride of Danville. Not much of a blocker, but he's a hell of a receiver. So will the 49ers look for a third tight end from what's out there in the marketplace? Will they try to keep Enrique Cruz? They haven't played him at all as a blocking tight end, but that's one way to steal a roster spot is take Cruz as your blocking tight end, and then you can go, with one more offensive lineman. I know they would love to develop Cruz. I don't think Cruz is worth developing. Not worth developing, but I don't think he's worth a roster spot. I don't think there's a team in the NFL that would look at him and say, yep, he's going to play for us this year. So he's going to clear waivers, and I think you could sign him back to the practice squad. Yeah, he's got good traits, but it's all about can you play right now. And right now he's developmental strictly. Now at offensive line, some people have him taking 10. I think they're going to go with 8. I think they're going to go short here. Trent Williams, I'll say Carver Willis is the left guard. Jake Brendel's the center. Dom Pooney's the right guard. Colton McKivitz is the right tackle. And I think they go with 3 backups. And I think those backups will be Robert Jones, Drake Nugent, and probably Vidarian Lowe. Now, if Vidarian Lowe's hurt, I think it'll be Austin Pleasance. It won't be Alarcon. It won't be Brandon Parker. And I don't think it'll be Enrique Cruz. But I have 8 offensive linemen, which is probably 1 short of what most people would have. But, you got to remember this. Your backup offensive linemen do not play typically. Whoever your starting 5 offensive linemen are, they typically play. If there's 68 snaps in the football game, most of the time your offensive line is going to play all 68 snaps. So you got to have backups, but I think you got to have a very condensed bench. And that's why I'd go with 8. All right, so that moves to wide receiver. And this is a tough spot. Evans, Debo, Stribling, Demarcus Robinson for sure. Those 4 guys. I would probably say Jordan Watkins makes it as well. That's 5. Some teams go with 5. I think the 49ers will go with 6. Now, the question is, who's that 6th guy? Christian Kirk has not been able to get out there. I think he'll probably be put on some injured list. Wouldn't surprise me if the Texans tried to trade for him. They just lost Jaden Higgins. He was there last year. I think, D'Amico could make a phone call and say, hey, Lynch, what about sending Christian Kirk back over here? So I could see that happening in the next few days. Will Pauling has looked really good. The Notre Dame rookie. He can catch punts. He's got some quickness. He's got 42-inch vertical, 4.37 speed. Leonard Hankerson, the wide receiver coach, says he's the toughest receiver he has. Jacob Cowing's making a big play for the roster spot. He's a punt returner, very dynamic, but also very small. Kadarius Hodge and Malik Turner. I think Malik Turner could be up for a roster spot. Hodge is a former Pro Bowl special teamer as a gunner. So these guys can help you on special teams, and Turner had a great preseason. Trenton Irwin has looked really good catching passes from Brock Purdy. But to me, it's Wesley Grimes. Wesley Grimes is the guy to watch tomorrow night and against the Raiders in the 3rd and final preseason game. This kid's big and fast and talented, and he's really good. He's got a lot of talent. Stribling is more ready to play, but Grimes, very similar. Big, angular, 6'3", 4.3 speed, catches it naturally. I mean, this guy looks terrific in the uniform and really looks good as a route runner, in my opinion. So I think I would go Evans, Debo, Stribling, DeMarcus, Watkins, and Grimes. Now, a lot of people would say, no, come on, that last guy's got to be a special teamer, but I'll make Watkins the return man, and I'd rather have Grimes, who I think can develop into a full-time starter, than one of these return guys. If it's a return thing, then I think Will Pauling gets the final job over Grimes, Christian Kirk, and Jacob Cowing. Wouldn't surprise me if they go with Malik Turner, but, they're always trying to appease Brant Boyer, the special teams coach. I think they ought to kind of talk tough to Boyer and just tell him, hey, look, we'll put guys on special teams, but let's worry about offense and defense too. You don't want to have too many guys devoted to special teams. All right, let's flip the card. Of course, on the specialist, I think it's pretty much decided. Eddie Pinheiro is going to be your kicker. Corliss Waitman is going to be your punter. John Weeks is going to be your long snapper. Jordan Watkins, I think, is the punt returner. Debo Samuel will be the kick returner. That's how I see that. All right, let's jump to the other side of the ball, the defense. And we'll start in the secondary because I think this is where I would go extra. Retain your depth at corner. When you run out of guys who can cover, you're done. And the Niners have 7 corners that can cover. Renardo Green, Demo Lenore, Upton Stout, the new corner, Jack Jones, the veteran's got his hands on tons of footballs this summer. Ephesians Prysock maybe lacks a little long speed, but, he looked really, really good in that first preseason game. I think he makes it. Nate Hobbs is probably going to be on the injured list. So you have 5 right there. Most teams go with 5. But you also have Darrell Luter, and you have Jacob Robinson, and you have Eli Apple. Well, I'd cut Apple, the former first-round pick, who's been in the league a few years. You can always sign him back if you want. But I would keep Jacob Robinson and Darrell Luter. Those guys are 2 good corners who are young and have potential. Do not slip through waivers. Sam Womack didn't. Deshaun Jameson a couple years ago didn't. Jacob Robinson won't, and Darrell Luter won't. If you put those guys on waivers, they're gone. I would retain my 7 corners because there's nothing more deflating than kissing a guy off at the deadline and just being like, we don't need a corner, and then you're needing corners in the middle of the year. Retain your cornerback depth and make up the spots somewhere else. So I would keep Jacob Robinson and Darrell Luter. I'm going 7 corners. Now at safety, you got Mustafa, Jair Brown, and Marquise Siegel. You could go with those 3 guys. You also have Saron Neal. And you also have Jalen Stroman, Ashton Davis, Patrick McMorris. Now, McMorris, I think, is going to be cut. Stroman, we'll see how he plays in these last couple of games. He's made a few plays. Davis also is in the mix for that final spot, but I think it's going to go to Saron Neal. This is where I would say to Boyer, hey, you know what? I'll give you Saron Neal. We'll move him from corner to safety, and we'll position him as the 4th safety. And so that's 11 DBs. Most teams go with 10 DBs, 5 corners, 5 safeties. Recently, it's been more like 6 corners, 4 safeties. In this situation, I think I'd go with 11, 7 corners and 4 safeties. And the 4 safeties being Mustafa, Brown, Siegel, and Saron Neal. All right, let's move to linebacker. I'd go with 6, and this is where I think I'd make a little bit of controversy. I'm not keeping, sorry, Boyer, I'm not keeping the special teams linebackers. Luke Gifford, Garrett Wallow, they're tremendous special teams linebackers. Heck, Gifford's made a Pro Bowl before as a special teams linebacker. So what? You got too many good young linebackers here. I'm keeping 6. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Tatum Bethune, Nick Martin, Jaden Duggar, and Larry Worth III. And I'm cutting Garrett Wallow, Jalen Graham, and Luke Gifford. And I know somebody's going to pick Gifford up, and but I like Wallow as well, and he'll be there. You can sign him to the practice squad. And I think, yes, you'd rather have Gifford than Wallow, but I'd rather have Larry Worth than Gifford. And I'd rather have Jaden Duggar and Nick Martin than those guys as well. So I'm preserving the athletes at linebacker, even though some of the young guys are going to have to play special teams, which is typically what young guys do in the NFL. So sorry, Gifford, sorry, Wallow, but hello, Larry Worth, hello, Jaden Duggar, and welcome back, Nick Martin. All right, that leads us to the defensive line. I think I would probably go with 11 defensive linemen. Mikell probably starts on the pup. So you have Osa Odigizua, and you got Nick Bosa, and you got Sam O, and you got Grayson Halton, and CJ West, and Keon White. That's 6. And Romello Height. That's 7. And then I really like Bryson Eason and James Thompson, so that's 9. And I'll go with Ogbo Okoronkwo. That's 10. And the last spot I'm giving to Big Alfred Collins. Now, that means I'm cutting Xavier Thomas, Victor Demikeji, Quentin Bell, who's looked really good at times, Evan Anderson, who they just signed back, and my guy Sebastian Valdez, Seabass. Wouldn't mind keeping Seabass as well, but you can't keep them all. And I'd put Seabass on the practice squad. So there you go. 11 D linemen, 6 linebackers, 4 safeties, 7 corners, 3 specialists. On offense, 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 2 tight ends, 8 offensive linemen, and 6 wide receivers. And I think that should add to 53. If it doesn't, sue me. But that's how I see the roster going into preseason game number 2. Who am I really looking for tomorrow night? Wesley Grimes and Will Pauling on offense. Jordan Watkins as well. Jacob Cowing. These are the guys that got to step up. I don't know that I even want to see any more Stribling. I don't know if I don't want to see Mike Evans. I don't want to see Debo. I don't want to see Demarcus Robinson. I've seen those guys. I know what they're about. Show me Watkins. Show me Cowing. Show me Pauling. Show me Grimes. Maybe a little Malik Turner, a little Trent Irwin. Let's take a look at the young receivers. On the offensive line, I want to see who that left guard is going to be. Robert Jones, Carver Willis, Brett Toth, Connor Colby. Who's it going to be? Austin Pleasance maybe at guard. Look for that tomorrow night. Maybe they'll play Pleasance at guard and see if he can be that one of those 3 or 4 backup offensive linemen. Purdy's going to get some run. He's looked great all summer. We'll see if Mac Jones gets some run. Curtis Rourke almost assuredly will not play. And in the back, I'd love to see Kalen Black, but not too much, just a little bit. A couple series of Kalen Black, show everybody what he's got, show everybody, who he is and how he fits, and then get him off the field. And then just play the rest of the game with McCormick, Zamir White, Patrick Taylor, guys that if they get hurt, it's not a big deal. On the defensive side of the ball, man, really would love to see Bryson Eason and James Thompson and Ogbo Arankwo, really continue to look like they belong. Okoronkwo is a veteran, but he is with the Niners for the first time, and he really looks comfortable in this line. I'd love to see, Romello Height, but it's really Bryson Eason. I don't think Grayson Halton's going to go because he's dinged up, but James Thompson and Bryson Eason. These guys look really good, and I want to see more of that. I want to see those young backers, as I said before, Worth and Duggar and Martin. And let's see if Prysock, Luter, Jacob Robinson, let's see if these young corners at the back end of the depth chart there can cover. This Charger team has got a lot of talent. That's the thing about this Charger team. They're really talented across the board. They've got speed at wide receiver. They got 2 top-tier tackles. You got a quarterback with a very strong arm. They got Amari on Hampton. Did you see how Hampton trucked Jair Brown? They look good. They look good running it. They've got some young receivers, Lad McConkey. They got size at receiver. They got speed at receiver. They got Khalil Mack, future Hall of Famer. Derwin James, probably as good a safety as there is. Some good DBs. I thought the young DBs for the Chargers look pretty good in the joint practices as well. So that's what we're looking for tomorrow night. I'll be with the boys in the pregame and on the postgame, so listen for me tomorrow night. I'll also do a postgame show on my YouTube channel when that is all done tomorrow night as well. No Niners Nightly tomorrow because of the football game, but we're back on Friday. And make sure you catch us on Friday. Friday, we'll go Niners Nightly also at 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock after Sportsphone. Niners Nightly, 9 p.m., and we'll talk Friday all about the game on Thursday. So we'll take some of your phone calls and just kind of review the game on Friday night. So have a great rest of your Wednesday night. Thanks to Raph. He's the man, as good a producer as there is in all of radio. Thanks to all of you, and we'll see you tomorrow as part of the pregame on the Sports Leader.
KNBR and KNBR FM, your home of
San Francisco
49ers football. Giants fans, the future is here.
Bases loaded, 1 out. The pitch. He hits a little bloop into right. It's going to get down. Ramos went back to third, and the throw comes home late. Ramos scores, and the Giants win.